It is the biggest day on the Tasmanian football calendar. Devonport faces a mountainous task to overcome a red-hot Clarence and claim its first premiership since 1988. But perhaps, like the spring weather, a grand final may just throw up the unpredictable. Good afternoon and welcome to Bellerive Oval in Hobart. Great to have your company for the decider between the Roos and Magpies, and also great to have the company of Nick Probert, a three-time Burnie Premiership coach. Excitement in the air, Proey.
Thanks, Alistair. It's great to be. A very exciting day, of course. Grand final day. We've been waiting all year for it. What can Coach Errol Bourne throw up for Devonport to get them over the line today?
Well, he has thrown up a selection, Smokey. They've gone for big men and experience over youth. Brennan Kendall's out of the team and Clint Matthews has come in. He has not played a final, so it's an interesting one, Proey.
Yep.
And what about Clarence? Their form is irresistible. They have not lost here in 24 games. That's 2 seasons and more, and they have lost only 1 game for the entire season.
Yeah, Clarence were obviously raging hot favourites today, but this is a grand final, so let's wait and see what happens. It's littered with, grand finals are littered with poor performances, so maybe Clarence have got that little chink in their armour, maybe not. So
they've certainly had an easier run into the competition decider. They beat Launceston twice to get here and beat them convincingly. Devonport's played 4 finals now, so they're match hardened, they've got momentum, but will they be a bit tired? They had a fantastic win over Launceston last week themselves. That was one of the best games for the year.
It was a terrific game of football and contrasting preparations to the grand final, with Clarence playing only the one team in the last 5 weeks and Devonport having that momentum of playing every week. So it'll be interesting to see what impact that actually has on these 2 teams.
Nick Probert's got grand final experience as a coach and a player, and so do our men down on the boundary. They've got the big game experience. It's Tim Hazel and Damien McIver. Good afternoon, boys. What's the atmosphere like down there?
It is slowly building down here, Alistair, but there's plenty going on, which is really, really exciting because this is going to be a fantastic game, Damien. Devonport, can they come down here and beat Clarence?
Look, it's a huge ask. I mean, Clarence have just been a super team all season, but Devonport, they've just got that little bit of X factor about them, which I like, and they could just surprise us here today.
There is plenty going on behind us. Devonport are kicking the ball into the crowd. The Devonport faithful here are very, very excited. Clarence, they can't lose here, can they?
Look, Clarence will expect to win. They know how to win grand finals. They've got stars across every line. And to be honest, I think some of those stars will have to have dirty days today for them to lose. But who knows, grand finals, interesting things happen.
Expect the unexpected. I caught up with both coaches before. I asked Brett Gapin about the fear factor playing Devonport in today's grand final.
I'm expecting the same thing, a committed, hard outfit, and that's what I saw last Friday night, and I'm expecting the same today. And so our boys are going to have to be at their best to combat that.
Clint Riley, can we expect him to be hard tagging anyone?
Yeah, he'll go to snapper. Kurt Hazel definitely from the start. He's played him before and done a pretty good job before, so he'll go to him, and yeah, should be one of the key matchups for us.
It's going to be a fantastic battle. We're looking forward to it, Brett.
Thanks, Timmy. Cheers, mate.
Errol, huge win last Friday night. You said after the game you're going to let the lid off and enjoy the week. Have you?
Yeah, no, we've had a really good week, Tim. It's a really good week to be involved, and hopefully there's a better one to come next week.
What's the training atmosphere been like for the boys and yourself?
Oh, a sense of achievement. We haven't, there's not much we can change this time of the year. So, sense of achievement, just, relax and set our structures in place and matchups maybe. Nothing out of the ordinary.
You've got a young list. Are you worried that the boys might have played the game before the siren sounds?
No, not at all.
It's going to be a fantastic game, Errol. I'm really looking forward to it, and all the best.
Thanks for the year, Tim. You've been tremendous. Well done.
And so have you, Errol. Thanks very much to you too. It's the TSL Grand Final live on ABC1. Clarence versus Devonport. Damien McIver's joined us in the commentary box. Good afternoon, Damien. We're underway.
Afternoon, Alistair. And as we'd expect, it's a red-hot opening, and that man, Cameron Thurley, getting his hands on the leather early, and it's a good kick. Gives Westfield the run of it. Westfield, though, the big man tackled without it surely by Hess. Spills to Drury inside 50. Allen needs to go and does. Saw this last week. He's a good player, just sweeping across half-back Trent Allen. And now it's with Smith. He'll go up the outer side and almost the good hands in front to McDonald. Now he's got a problem. Ball spills to French. Thurley spots up a player in the middle. It's with Setchell. Dangerous spot for Clarence. Attacks the goal face. Drury from behind. Can't get a fly. At the ground level, Standard can't get his hands on the leather. Allen again. Terrific footy.
Oh, very lucky there, I thought, not to be given holding the ball, diving on the footy. Very risky at this early stage of the game, guys. Frenetic pace to begin the match, isn't it? There's players everywhere and a typical start to a grand final.
A bounce 30 metres out from the goal that Clarence is attacking. Standen couldn't get his kick away. Burrowing in Clements, he's taken to ground. Green's got it. He flips the hand pass out to Thurley, who shrugs one, kicks goalward. Smith's back for Devonport and takes the defensive mark down low in front of Standen.
So the early matchups, Riley's taken, obviously Riley's taken Hazelwood as expected.
Croden's got it on the half-back flank. He goes up the wing with a high kick. Set to task for Hess. He flies, can't take the mark. McCrossan's after it. French has got him without the footy. A free kick to Trent McCrossan. So French is clearly being charged with the role of trying to limit the influence of the ball magnet from Devonport. He goes to Smith, so good last week in the preliminary final. Interestingly, Proe, they've sent Matthews forward. So it's a tall Devonport forward line with Colbeck and Reynolds as well. No surprises with Reynolds and Sharman going at it.
Really trying to stretch the Clarence back line. I don't mind that. I think it's a good move. They've got to try and do something to change it up, I think, Devonport, and that's not a bad start. Plenty of space in front of the forwards that they've got up there at the moment.
So first real foray forward for Devonport. Williams, well, ball spills to Thurley again. No one on him early. Whitelaw in trouble. The tackle from McDonald was good. Here's Thurley again, got it from Westfield. Hazelwood there to apply pressure. Riley's with him. We'll see plenty of that this afternoon.
And I hope we see some Devonport players actually go to Riley and give him a bit of physical curry, because at the end of the day, he's been allowed to do this all season, and really Hazelwood's too important to allow that to happen to.
Spot on, Proe, as Williams now gets the ball to Walker. Inside 50 for Devonport. McDonald to come out, can't really get involved. Thurley again, he's had plenty of it early. Dangerous signs already for Devonport. Here's O'Brien, gets it back to Swan. This is where they like to build their attacking thrusts. The kick, though, out wide to Whitelaw. McCrossan tracking him. Boundary line beats them both.
It was interesting at the first centre square bound. Thurley lined up on Matty Smith. Both very attacking players. I don't know whether that's going to have to change up as we go through. Early, obviously, Cameron Thurley's already started to rack them up.
And he's running completely free at the moment, Nick. It doesn't look like they've put a tag on him at all.
For me, I don't understand that. I think really he's a critical player in this Clarence side, isn't he? He's their real barometer, can read and destroy a game of football. So I'd love to see Clay Hardy go to him, but we'll see how it unfolds as he's moved forward off the ball now.
And Brad Simmons has gone to him, the former Mariners captain. Flipped out by Setchell, but robbed by McCrossan, who sends Devonport forward. Mott running back with the flight on Swan, couldn't take the mark. Swan, maybe a throw, worked it out to Green. Swan goes again. Now it's with Green. Green gets his left foot kick out towards Whitelaw, who takes the mark. Good kick too. Hand pass on, kick forward by Green, who got it to Thurley. And Thurley's just floating around.
He must smell.
No one really on him.
Not great, obviously. But that's the beauty of the talent that a guy like Cameron Thurley has. He's able to just shimmy away to the side a little and lose a defender that's his only job in life is to try and stop him. So a terrific effort from Thurles. Critical first goal coming up, hopefully.
Cameron Thurley to kick from 45 metres. They say the cream rises to the top in a grand final, and Cameron Thurley has delivered the opening goal.
Well, that's the start that Devonport would never have wanted. But certainly they've had a little bit of the play the pies, and Clarence have been not dominating totally, but signs for me not great at the moment for particularly the matchup on Thurley, as we see him walking now back into the centre of the ground. And let's have a look at who's going to pick him up there. Is that it's Wuffy Smith again? So I think that there's some tinkering that needs to happen there.
It's almost like when he's in the midfield, it's going to be Smith, and when he drifts forward, it may be Simmons.
We'll see how that one pans out. The bounce was a little bit shonky. Umpire lets it play on, and we have a free kick here. It's going the way of Baker for high contact. Lays it off quickly to Thurley again. This is getting monotonous already. Now French, he can cross the 50 and have a flying shot on goal. Aaron French, 2 in a row for the Roos.
It's a great goal from French, isn't it? That's a terrific shot on goal from that far out, and the clearance, free kick. Clarence in first for the football. Quick handball to Cameron Thurley. No player near him. And French, as you can see, a terrific shot on goal. it's great to settle and get those first touches in a game of this importance in a grand final. So there'll be a lot of nerves out there in the Devonport side right now. Players still not able to get a possession yet, not yet getting their hands on the football. So critical 5 minutes already for Devonport.
Down to Tim Hazel on the boundary. Tim, we've seen a lot of wind around Hobart early this morning. Is it favouring an end in particular?
Not at the moment, Alistair. It's just died off. So Clarence, if anyone's got an advantage, it will be Clarence for this quarter. But just as I said in my opener, 4 seasons in 1 day. Reece Mott has a shot. Cameron Blight, good mark in defence.
You may well get promoted to the commentary box based on that next year, Tim. But looks like it could well be reversed here.
It has been reversed, and that's a great sign for Devonport. I'm parked, boys, right in front of the Devonport faithful. It's going to be a loud day for me.
Do enjoy. It's going to be Reece Mott.
A hand in the back, yes.
And it was there. Reece Mott, who kicked 2 crucial goals in the last quarter of the preliminary final, comes in and puts Devonport on the board.
Well, that's the steadier they needed. That's the steadier they needed, and a real confidence booster for the Devonport side that will get them feeling as though they're into this contest now and really ready to go.
Errol Bourne predicting higher things for Reece Mott. Really wants him to be picked up in the AFL draft later this year. That might be young Archie Reynolds sitting there, the youngster.
I think it was out.
Good bloodlines there. Chris Reynolds, of course, played in the 1988 premiership win for Devonport. Ben Reynolds out there today and young Archie in the crowd. Great to see. And he'll be happy his Magpies are on the board.
Yeah, it was an important goal for Mott as the restart. Wish Wilson wrapped up by Thurley. He's going nowhere.
Wish Wilson just looking after Josh Green. He's quite tight on Josh early, so he's been given a little bit of a task there.
Not a bad matchup, though. Wish Wilson certainly got the ability to go with someone like Green, you'd think, probably.
He's just ignored him at that contest, I noticed, though.
Might get the runner out. Terrific mark by Whitelaw. Just kept his eyes on the footy. There was plenty of activity around him. But never questioned Whitelaw's courage nor his skill. Spots up Adam Green, and Thurley again out the back. He's got a few to beat. 2 Devonport players spoiled each other. Spills to Josh Green, just can't quite get a handle on it. Important footy, standing across the body on the left, doesn't have the legs. Important ball by McCrossan to clear the zone, and the Magpies should be out of trouble.
Crowden and Setchell. Crowden managed to get away from Setchell, has an audacious bounce, and now he sends them to half forward. Reynolds comes out on Sharman. Sharman favoured by the kick. He takes the mark. That is going to be an enthralling duel all afternoon. Blight's free, and the switch is on. Kick to Whitelaw. Always dropped the mark. Opportunity here for Devonport. Wish Wilson crashes in. Swan over the top of him. Mott's working hard in there for Devonport. In they come from everywhere. Riley just wanted to lock it up. We'll have a bounce on the edge of the centre square.
Alistair, this matchup with Cameron Thurley just off the footy at the moment. He's in the goal square by himself. They can't figure it out. Matthew Smith doesn't want to go with him. Brad Simmons now coming back to pick him up.
Well, I'm no coach, Damien, but if I was, even someone with my limited ability would be able to determine that you needed to put someone on Cameron Thurley. Punch at the back from Sean McCrossan. Savage couldn't get a hand on it. Good tackle applied by Clements. Baker's going nowhere. Better signs for Devonport. They've settled into the match now.
They have, as we see now that Philip Crowden comes back to Thurley, which is a far more suitable matchup, much stronger in the air than Bradley Simmons.
So it'll be Hess against Savage. Hazelwood gets his hands on it. Wants Allen. It's a loopy old hand pass. Allen, though, hands were good. Frees up Clements. Reynolds the target and does enough. Just worked his way in the front position, was infringed. As we said, it's going to be one of the key duels today. Reynolds v Sharman. And the kick from Reynolds favours Swan. Terrific effort, though, back up from Rundle. Now it's with Mott. He's got 3 Roos around him. O'Brien just wants to rip the ball away from him. Play continues, spills out the back now. Chris McDonald all on his own, flying shot on goal. It's not going to make it over the back. His brother, Brad McDonald, recovers first, needs to support in the goal square, straightens up, certain goal for the Pies.
Well done. He thought about shooting 2 or 3 times, didn't he? And actually had the composure to hold the football. And in the end, the play went to ground, and Brad had a really easy shot on goal. The McDonald brothers combining well there, and Devonport are up and equal now on the scoreboard with 2 goals each, which is terrific.
And Brad McDonald playing forward in round 14 was a successful move for them, Proe, and they're going with that again today. He just stretches the opposition for pace. We know that Clarence has those key big backmen, but do they have someone that can go with a player like McDonald?
Yeah, and we saw last week Brad was terrific, wasn't he, with his pace, but didn't use the footy particularly well. Around goal, to lay those tackles defensively could be a real key for Devonport.
Setchell got one high from Walker. Smith and Blight. Smith waited for it. Blight attacked it, couldn't get a handle on it. Wish Wilson went in hard. Now he works it out to Smith. Oh, they did have a free man, but the kick was a poor one. Walker all on his own. The kick went straight to Setchell. Here's Jackie O. Kicks towards centre half forward. Not a good kick either. Clements dropped the mark though. Riley works it to Green. Hand pass Drury. 45 out. Shoots at goal, and Clarence has its third.
Well, they're open passages of play at the moment, aren't they? Their players just going for it, and as we saw there, Matty Drury on the receiving end of a good handball and making no mistake from about 50 metres. I noticed Cameron Blight was down in the forward line just then, drifting forward. A lot of loose players all over the ground as players try to find their match-up and settle into the rhythm of the game.
Boys, Cameron Blight has just come off. Nick Payne, Clarence captain, has just come on for his first run.
A neat finish from Matthew Drury. Does most of his work probably out of range of goals. He's that lead up forward, and he struck one early in the grand final.
McCrossan could have got a free kick. Riley could have got one as well, so we'll call it even. And the umpire to come in and bounce again. Guess what you'd expect in a grand final. There's been a few mistakes made, plenty of pace and bodies going in willingly.
Absolutely.
So the umpire lays it down, plenty of players around it. Gapin got it to Setchell, but they're working in pretty tight space.
The critical factor is still maintaining the basics, though, isn't it? Having good body position and being in front will win you the free kicks that often will result in goals early in grand finals.
So for a third time, we'll have a bounce. Savage got it down. Josh Green with a run of it was met solidly by McCrossan. He's got about 18 players around him. So just a little bit of a lull. There's Brennan Savage, such an important player for the Roos.
I think Devonport would be really happy with where they're at right now. They're 13 minutes in and only a goal down. Haven't been blown away in the first quarter.
It looked dangerous there with that. Clarence kicked those first two. You thought, oh, here we go.
Absolutely.
They are renowned for banging on goals in a hurry, so I think you've called it right, Proe. Errol Bourne would be pretty happy. You see Wish Wilson there in the foreground. Now with Matthew Gapin, gets the kick. There's Wish Wilson. It's going to come back Clarence's way, though, as Swan pokes it over the top. It was a good kick to find Setchell. Here's a go now for Adam Green on the left. Oh, the vision to see Nick Payne in the corner, in the pocket, sorry.
A right-footed player, Adam, obviously just swung onto his left foot there, knows that he can't kick it a long way, had the presence of mind to see Payne out of the corner of his eye, who had just drifted into a hole in the forward pocket. That's terrific play, but a bit frustrating. Rowan Swan sat behind that stoppage for about 3 minutes and was in the end. He was the guy that started that chain of possession that has this shot on goal.
So Nick Payne, he kicked 4 last time these two teams met, and he hasn't added to that there.
Already had 2 grand finals decided here at Bellerive Oval this morning in the under-18s and the reserves. And I can tell you that in the reserves, Clarence, winners 8-8-56 to North Hobart, 7-11-53. And in the under-18s, it was a win to North Launceston, 10-11-71 to Clarence, 7-8-50. So a 21-point win to North Launceston over Clarence. Clarence making all grand finals really underlines the culture of this club. What a professional outfit they are. And their seniors have been just about unstoppable all season. They lead by 7 points. 15 minutes gone in the opening term of the grand final. And in another big success story for Clarence that we can tell you about today, quite remarkably, Brett Gapin, having played only 10 rounds of football, has won the Tassie medal as the best and fairest player in the TSL this season. Zane Murphy, a little unlucky, won on votes by 1 vote, 19 votes to Gapin's 18. Of course, Zane Murphy suspended, spent several weeks on the sideline for reckless conduct, but he did obtained the most votes from the umpires this season. Gapin, though, the Tassie medalist, and Kurt Hazelwood, last year's winner, was third. As Payne gets his hand past to Green, he puts the afterburners on. He kicks inside 50, open forward line for Standen. He's going to get a kick across the body. He usually does this well. This no exception.
That was excellent from Standen. One-on-one, a terrific player, isn't he? He was able then to just be in front of his player, which is going to be very hard for any defender to stop. But the beauty of what he then did was he kicked the footy underneath the attempted smother. He was aware that McCrossan was going to try and smother him. And Clarence, they're away now. They've got a 13-point margin.
Trent Standen, what a pickup he has been for the Clarence Football Club from Sorell. 61 goals for the season. The Matthew Richardson medalist as the Rookie of the Year. And he has been a key contributor in the successful march of Clarence this season.
Here's Matthew Gapin, and as he so often does, at the bottom of the pack, earning free kicks.
Here comes Thurley.
Thurley just to loop around again with no one near him. Still no one near him, so he'll just do it again. This is extraordinary. Finds Brettingham Moore. Has runners out wide. It's with French. Already kicked one goal this afternoon. Pokes it inside. Wanted stand, and the kick really favoured the defenders.
Nick, who would you put on Cameron Thurley if you were Errol Bourne?
I'd put Clay Hardy on him straight away. At the moment, what they've got is they're outnumbering in their defence. They've got an extra man back, which is great, but so often with a player like Thurley, that player doesn't come into play and impact the game. Much better cutting it off at the supply with the player actually on Thurley.
It's terrific play by James Baker then. Thought he almost was going to earn himself a goal.
Clay Hardy's one of Errol's favourite players. A terrific young kid. He's very disciplined, extremely fit. And that would be, I would have thought, quite a good impact straight away.
It's Matthews. Whitelaw with some space across the body. And lucky to register a behind.
Trent Whitelaw's first score for the afternoon. The Roos by 14 points. McCrossan's going to kick it in for Devonport. Had an interesting article, an old newspaper clipping sent to me during the week from fellow journalist Alex Johnston. And Trent McCrossan had apparently bailed up Jim Bacon, the then Premier at his high school, to tell him he too wanted to be a politician. And here he is, playing for a premiership himself. Allen couldn't take the mark. It falls for Bailey, who squares it up beautifully. Swans drifted up the field.
Good
It was O'Neill, rather. Standen attacks the footy. One way, then the other. Just got rid of it in the nick of time. Savage gathers. He's got a free man. It's O'Neill again. He goes to the top of the goal square. Body contact initiated by Drury. Umpire lets it go. He takes the mark. And Philip Crowden not too happy about it. 50 metres, says the umpire, makes very little difference anyway.
It was nearly too soon, wasn't it? It was nearly too soon, that contact. It's a very tough call, that one. I don't know if I would have paid Drury hitting him a bit early and knocking Crowden out of the way.
Drury's second goal, and they have jumped away here, the Roos. Leaders by 20 points. 19 minutes played in the opening term of the grand final. This was the start Devonport wanted. The Devonport supporters over in the Spencer stand on the left of screen have been silenced here early at Bellerive Oval. They need their team to respond.
So Williams back in the ruck, and Westfield, as we've seen all year, really rucking pretty much unchanged. He gets a bit of support from Savage, but does a fantastic job. Lays it down to the advantage of Gapin. Has Swan running past. Kick inboard was neat enough, although Savage dropped a chest mark. Ball spills now to Clements. They're away through Hardy now, the Pies. It's a scrappy kick going forward. Mott trying to get involved. It spills to Reynolds. Here's Mott. Hands on the up. Went straight to Westfield. Over the top to Whitelaw. Just a bit too much polish at the moment, the Roos. Here's Setchell. Goes inboard. Finds Savage. Back to Setchell. Perhaps a little bit too cute on that occasion, although O'Brien good enough. Gets it to Whitelaw, who'll just thump it forward inside 50, and it taken pretty comfortably there by Trent McCrossan. Spreads it out to Viney, and the Pies are away.
Viney to Williams. Williams looks up the wing. Now he sends it long. Reynolds is there. At the back, O'Brien, missed by Castle. Hazelwood to Mott. This is okay from the Magpies. Smith has got it on attacking 50. He wheels and goes on the left foot to a vacant goal square. Swan's getting back. How will it bounce? Whoa, well done, Rowan Swan. Just in the nick of time. Mr. Reliable back there.
Very handy for Devonport. Matthew Smith, very good either side of his body. Balance, and that one nearly bouncing through.
Yeah, you do get the feeling that they need one before quarter time, the Pies. Kick from Green, landed in the arms of Payne. It was touched. Crowd wants holding the ball. Shaw here, plenty. Every right to be. Special kind of vocal, though, those Devonport supporters I've found.
You would know, Damien.
Yep. No, it's terrific to see.
I can speak from experience there too.
I was going to say, you've probably been on the receiving end, Proe. So Westfield, thumped forward by McDonald, gets in the arms of Simmons. Hand pass forward to Wish Wilson. Got out of trouble, met solidly by Whitelaw. Now it's with Hardy. Green's got him. In fact, it's O'Brien.
So there's no easy possessions here at the moment for Devonport. One of the features of Clarence's game plan is the pressure that they're able to put on players on the opposition team moving forward. And as you can see at the moment, Devonport is really battling to move the ball forward with any fluency. On the converse, Clarence get the footy, and there seems to be options everywhere for them at the moment.
Williams shrugged the tackle, worked it out in front of Hart. Bounce evaded him. Hazelwood, good hand pass. Chris McDonald shoots at goal. It's not going to have the carry at Majorable. It through another behind Magpies. It to
Just a lazy little hander and a lovely kick out in front of Savage. It is Setchell now to the half-forward flank. And there's a good mark taken in front by Fitch. He's been important early. Good
well
smother diving across by Walker. Falls to Simmons. Important footy now. The Pies with a chance to build on that. The hand pass straight in the arms of Setchell, who gives it straight back. Smith. Now it's with McCrossan. He's a good user of the footy. 70 out. Goes with the hand pass. They're mucking around with it. Back to McCrossan. Crosses the 50. Flying shot on goal. Trent McCrossan. Not enough carry.
Had the build-up right, just couldn't finish.
Tim Hazel, that kick looked a little like it was held up by the breeze. Is that the case? Is it favouring the River End?
It is. It's just picked up over the last couple of seconds, and just quickly, Clarence have been rotating their midfield and the bench a lot. That was to be expected.
Thanks to Tim Hazel on the boundary line.
Yeah, and that'll be a feature of the game. Obviously, grand finals, huge efforts made by the players physically, so the coaches will be smart to be rotating early in this game to give everybody the opportunity to be running at the end. Who knows who's going to need that extra little inch or percentage at the end of the game.
Riley and Westfield combine, and Green and O'Brien. This is wonderful stuff from Clarence. Great use of the hands. Payne's neat kick out in front of Whitelaw. Put that one down on the highlights reel. The umpire's gone down in the middle of all that on the right of screen. Kick to the goal square. Drury on Hess. No one can win that one. Allen's there for Devonport. Drury pursues it out towards the boundary line, and Croden's put it out on the full.
It's unlucky from Croden.
Drury wants to go. He snaps at goal, and it narrowly misses. So Drury with 2 goals won. We've seen umpires going down in recent weeks, or at least umpires involved in collisions. Last week in the preliminary final, Leon Charlesworth, the Devonport runner, was met heavily by Jason Williams, the goal umpire, and
it was Nick Foot, I think.
Leon Charlesworth came off worse for wear, but he was singing the song with plenty of gusto after the game.
He was. Just the foot skills of Clarence a bit better at the moment, as we see again getting chopped off, a bit too predictable Devonport going forward. We need to really burst the line here and actually run and carry the football a little more. Everybody's waiting to watch somebody else in the Devonport side to do something.
Gee, they're under pressure here, deep in their defensive zone. Cool head from Clements. It was needed because, as you see, Wish Wilson just calling his teammates.
It's okay
just
to slow
it down.
It's okay to slow down, but nobody else is actually moving. So this is the only result that can happen from it.
Out of bounds on the full. And you're forced to go wide.
Well, you are. You're forced to go wide and long, which, I think that's okay, but if we're going to play the slow play, we need people moving so that they're, when I say we, I mean Devonport, that's not my team, but figure of speech. They need to have options to kick to.
We see Clarence now with a touch of the fumbles. Williams is dispossessed. Whitelaw, he can't get his hands on it. Falls back to Williams. Now it's with Rundle. Plenty of players around, and that's surely in danger. Nick Payne put his head over it, nearly lost it. Play on advantage. It's with Josh Green. He's happy to spread it out to Brendan Savage. He's got lots of players free ahead of him. One of them's Tim Castle. He'll wheel and go. The hand pass to Baker. He's a good user of the footy. That's no exception. And Aaron French has been dangerous across half forward already. Has Drury on the lead. Doesn't want to use him. Instead, well, his teammates will be disappointed with that.
Yeah, disappointing effort. And really, Devonport can't afford another goal here. If Clarence were able to score, then that really puts a big margin in them. If they can get a goal before quarter time, go in only a couple of goals down, they're still right in this game.
Smith in the back pocket, wants McDonald. Whitelaw's coming. Good mark, Chris McDonald.
That's a great
Strong
matchup.
Hands.
Great matchup. We look forward to that one, how it unfolds.
Dangerous kick, and it was plucked out of there by Josh Green. Could be his last game for Clarence. The AFL recruiters are circling. Oh, Wish Wilson drifts across the front of the pack, takes an excellent mark for Devonport. And that'll be quarter time in the grand final. And the Roos have jumped out of the blocks. They've got the start they wanted. 5-3-33 to Devonport 2-2-14. And in the first 18 or so minutes of that term, Cameron Thurley was having a picnic. No one went near him, and Devonport paid the price. There's Matthew Gapin. A decade ago, he played in a premiership in the old state league with Clarence. He gets the chance to try and win one again today. And there's Cameron Thurley. He's just got licence to drift all over the field, Nick. It's not like he waits for the coach's instructions. He's so clever at losing the opposition.
11 possessions for a quarter, so heading towards a 44-possession game if we keep this rate up for Cameron Thurley. Look, that's just the disappointing thing I would have thought for this quarter for Devonport. They weren't able to really stifle his impact on the game, and really that's the guy that you would want to stop if you're the Devonport team. Apart from that, they stayed in the game early, but clearly Clarence's kicking skills were superior in the first part of this game. They were able to find targets and move the ball forward quite easily. On the flip side, when Devonport won possession, Clarence were able to really pressure Devonport's ball moving forward, and Devonport didn't quite have that confidence and surety to run and make space that Clarence have, that confidence in each other that you really rely on in a grand final, don't you? You've got to go. You can't think that it's going to be somebody else that'll do it. You've got to be the one that goes, and clearly there are a few guys in the Devonport side that were just a little reluctant, I think, to run and genuinely make space when they took possession of the ball.
Clarence kicked the opening 2 goals of the game, and they kicked the last 3 of the first quarter as well to take that 19-point lead into quarter time. Drury's kicked 2, French 1, Thurley and Standen. Mott kicked 1 from a free kick, and Brad McDonald kicked the other goal for Devonport. Setchell's had 10 possessions, as mentioned, Thurley 11. Josh Green's had 6, as well as Rowan Swan 7 possessions for Adam Green, who was very good in the opening term.
Excellent, and there Matthew Smith with 7 possessions and Trent McCrossan 10. So some of their key playmakers from last week still getting their hands on the football, but really in the back half of the ground and not impacting in the forward half of the ground with the majority of the possessions those guys had. And notice Clarence have had 89 possessions to Devonport 61, about 2/3 more than Devonport Clarence have had, and that's an indication of their dominance in that first quarter.
We look at Ben Reynolds at the bottom of screen. He hasn't taken a mark yet, and it's no surprise. We talked about the duel he was going to have with Sharman today. Well, Sharman's going to win it hands down if Reynolds can't get any decent delivery or any delivery.
Absolutely, and Sharmans will be happy with the way he had that first one, and I think that as the game wears on, Reynolds will certainly have his impact on this match.
There's French kicking a goal. He didn't kick too many last year. He's now got 12 this season, so he's added another dimension to his game. Reece Mott here got a push in the back and then went back and kicked the goal courtesy of the free kick. Devonport kicked 2 in a row at this stage to level the scores at the 10-minute mark of the term. And then, as mentioned, Clarence with the last 3 at the 11-minute mark, the 15-minute mark and the 19-minute mark. Matthew Drury kicked 2 of those goals, and Standen, if you open the forward line up for him, there's not too many who can beat him.
No, he's a terrific player. He's a wonderful talent. So, and that was a deliberately low kick to get underneath the the smothering player.
Here's Drury just
got
using
away
his
with it, I
body.
reckon. Just got away with it.
touch and go. Nick Probert's already done the maths, 61 possessions to 89, so the Roos way in front there, and twice as many marks as well. Inside 50s, they're streets ahead, 13-5. They're winning the hit-outs. Centre breaks 3-2 as well. So comprehensively, Clarence in the opening term, Devonport at quarter time needs to reassess and come out reinvigorated, because they needed to get a good start today, and now they're coming from a fair way back. Let's head into the huddle and find out what Brett Gapen's got to say at quarter time.
Lazy one, Nick. Yep. Sav. But also, why the hell are we kicking the ball long? Bombing to centre half forward. We've never done it, nor we will ever do it. I don't care what the conditions are like. We don't play that way. Fix it. Fix it. Little 45, we're good enough to do it. There's been options open. Lower your eyes. When we did, we looked tremendous. Made it look stupid. Adam Green, what are you cover? Outstanding. Mate, gave us a real spark. And your last 5 minutes, mate, really important. Really came in with fools. China made an impact when you came on. Again, we don't want to lose man. So it's playing a bit that cat and mouse game. Go down, drag them up. No, I don't want our forward line flooded with guys. I don't want to play an 8-man forward line. So go down and just walk up, and get dangerous. Mate, you get the football, but it's a bit too much about you at the moment, mate. Get the balance right. As I said early on, I want him knuckled down. I know he won't go near you, and on the turnover, you're getting hurt. And also sharpen up. Sharpen up, mate.
The Clarence coach and the 2010 Tassie medalist as the best and fairest player in the TSL, Brett Gapen. What a year it's been for him. Can he cap it off with a premiership? His team has made the perfect start. And Nick, he has really grown into that coaching role. His message is so confident, so direct. Listening to him early last season, he really seemed like a guy who was still feeling his way. Now he's got that coaching gig down.
It's great to hear them at the quarter-time breaks, isn't it? I really look forward to seeing what different coaches have got to say, and he's clearly really switched on with where his team is at. His messages were clear. He was positive for the group for the majority of the time that he gave feedback, which really helps the group get away to a confident start in a game that's as important as this. And his messages were clear and concise. Lower your eyes going forward. The Clarence game plan is never to kick the ball in long. He reminded them of that. And it was interesting, the little rocket that he gave to Aaron French, who has had a great first quarter, hasn't he, Damien? But he's still worried that the McCrossan's having too big an influence on the game.
Yeah, I mean, that would be one of the players for Devonport, McCrossan, Clarence would be looking at it and say, we've got to shut him down. He's had 10 touches, I think, in the first term. So, and French has been dangerous, and obviously that's the game plan, get forward and make McCrossan accountable, but it's got to go both ways.
Let's get down to Tim Hazel at ground level.
Thanks, Alistair. I'm down here with the Devonport assistant coach, Ricky Clark. Ricky, Cameron Thurley got away and had a lot of cheap possession. Will we see a tag?
Yeah, look, it's not cheap possessions. He works really hard. We've got a plan for him. It hasn't quite worked yet, but we got faith in the guys doing the job, and hopefully they can do better this quarter. Yep.
All the best, Ricky. Thanks very much. Errol was very composed in his quarter-time speech. He spoke about a lot of unpossession ball, just giving up easy targets, kicking out in the full, pushing, giving free kicks away. He just asked a big effort out of Ben Reynolds and Kurt Hazelwood in particular. Thanks, boys.
And Tim, I've got to say, you got a bit lost down there at quarter time. I was looking for you, but there were so many people on the ground having a kick. It's absolutely tremendous to see that so many people have turned out to the footy this afternoon. AFL Tasmania wanted a crowd of about 5,000, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, I haven't counted everyone, but you could just about guarantee they have got that and a few more.
And you know what, boys? There's actually more people coming as we speak. They must have been going to other games and then getting over the river to come see this clash, which is fantastic. But as you said, lots of kids out kicking the football, spectators coming out and hearing the coaches firsthand of what they're saying to their players at quarter time. It's just an awesome atmosphere down here, boys. I'm really lucky to be down here. And Proey, I'm in the best seat today.
Is that right? Well, good luck to you down there, mate. Yeah, we are a little removed from the atmosphere up here behind the glass, I guess, but it is quite nice and warm.
There's always that, Pro, and I wonder whether it was Tim Hazel's little rev-up before the game that encouraged a few latecomers here at Bellerive Oval this afternoon. Second term's about to get underway. It's Clarence leading the match by 19 points at quarter time. So Devonport probably kicking with the advantage of a bit of a breeze, although it's gusting all over the place. It has been very strong. We're underway in the second term. Westfield got his hands to it. Wish Wilson went to ground. Needs to farm it out over the top of him, Green. He gets one in the back. A free kick to Sam Wish Wilson, who's made a bright start himself. He hand passes to Allen. Allen kicks to half forward. He wants Viney, but the kick didn't have the carry. And Green, another possession, number 8 for him to Thurley. He now goes for number 12.
So clearly the plan that Devonport were talking about is Smith on Thurley while he's on the ball, but I just don't think that he's able to have the negative side of the game up to scratch for Thurley at the moment.
Whitelaw marked down low, chips it over the top. Not enough carry for his brother. Trent to Stewart. Stewart good enough though. Manages to get a hand pass in tricky circumstances to French, to Green, who kept on running but couldn't take the football with him. McCrossan almost threw it out. Good hand pass by Viney in close quarters. His kick, though, not a good one. Westfield chops it out for the Roos.
Westfield lays it off to O'Brien, just waltzes through the middle of Bellerive, and a lovely kick to Drury. Lays it off to Green, dances around one, straightens up. Would be a perfect start for Clarence, it is.
Well, another case there of Drew Westfield being loose behind the footy, just playing the traditional ruckman's role and trying to read the play and get in behind to help his fellow defenders. And the ball fell into his arms, and Drew was able to launch an attack for Clarence that resulted in the Josh Green goal.
It's a clever kick, Pro. He's aimed that at the left-hand goalpost, knowing that the breeze is going to push it across. Josh Green.
Very clever player. He's a wonderful talent, isn't he? It's great to have him out here playing in a grand final.
So Clarence very quickly on the board again, and the margin out to 25 points now. They've kicked the last 4. Setchell couldn't gather. O'Brien tried to take it with him. Quick kick by Green. Here's McCrossan, made a good start to the game. Needs to go in and win this football. Tries a little dainty soccer. Smith. Green gets the hand pass from French.
He started terrifically well this quarter, hasn't he?
Free kick plucked out here will go the way of Josh Green. And there are recruiters here from all reports, Proey. You probably know better than most.
I may have spoken to a couple during the week, Alistair, who were very keen to know the starting times for the games, and there's no doubt that grand finals count more. If you can perform in a grand final under pressure, that really puts a tick in your box.
Here's McDonald, kicks it to a dangerous spot. Castle over the top, almost did enough. Spills to O'Brien, back to Sharman, and you'd expect with the numbers that the Roos will be away. The hand pass though from O'Brien went straight to Viney. It's coming back now. Mott on the breeze.
Bending,
it's coming in.
Bending.
And just...
Oh, you wouldn't read about that bounce, would you?
Well, that's done the opposite to Lee Brown's last night.
For all the world, it looked like it was going to roll through, and it's taken a complete 90-degree turn.
Blight to Swan. Swan.
Well done.
Not a good kick. That's out of bounds on the full. Good pressure, Matthew Smith. And Wish Wilson can take the free kick for Devonport. They really need a goal here, the Magpies.
Swan saying it's either touched or 50 metres for coming across the mark, I think. It was pretty nifty work from Matthew Smith.
Sam Wish Wilson would need his best kicked here against the breeze. He's going to have a go at them. Gives himself a chance to improve the angle. It won't be a goal. Colbeck's there, easily fisted through by Sharman. Wish Wilson with a number of early touches.
As we get a look at the Devonport zone here on the setup, they're nicely structured. It's just about what happens after this, I think, that might be the issue.
So it's with Blight. He wants to free up O'Brien to run. Gets around Colbeck, and they've done it well.
And that is the issue.
Riley.
Happy to run the footy, but... Oh, well, here we go. Fantastic.
Just as you give him a rap, Crowe, it goes the other way. Viney shot on goal, and they've paid the price there.
Happy to cop that one on the chin. That's a wonderful bit of persistence in the end from the Devonport players. It looked like Jackson O'Brien and co were going to have it all their own way running the footy out, and Devonport just can't let that happen. They can't let that happen because Clarence's game plan will tear them apart if they're able to continue to run the footy like that. So great from Clinton Viney there on the receiving end and working hard to get that football and a good finish that brings Devonport back into the game a little.
Viney with a much-needed goal. The margin 17 points. Westfield sets himself against Williams, and he wins. But Mott sharks it, sends them forward at the back. Forced to punch was Smith, Reynolds and Whitelaw. Whitelaw under all sorts of pressure, crashing in Setchell. His hand pass, almost cut out by McDonald. Opportunity here for Croton. Breaks away, shoots at goal. Oh, wobbly old ball, didn't have the carry, did have the accuracy, but into the hands of Blight.
Chris McDonald looked at Croton and said, why didn't you give it to me? He has kicked 111 goals only 2 years ago, Philip Croton, so he is a noted goal scorer, but not generally from that far out on the run. He's more of a deep forward.
So here's Whitelaw, and just a few little cracks in the Clarence defence we've seen early in the second term.
So Devonport trying a rolling zone here. If you look across the ground, it's not quite on the camera at the moment. In behind where the ball is now, there's a sea of Devonport players all the way across the ground, just trying to occupy space rather than take a man.
And you can see Clarence just lowering the eyes, trying to pinpoint players, although Thurley goes long on this occasion. And that's the danger, although they get it over the back, they're away. If it sits for Green, it doesn't, so Hess to arrive. Now he's in trouble. Farms it out the back. Williams could have got one in the back, he did. And play on advantage. Now it's with Mott. He's a good user of the footy. He wants Smith.
Oh, it's a shame. The breeze is strong over on that side of the ground, isn't it? Sheltered on this side, on the grandstand side by the grandstands. Very strong over in this pocket where the scoreboard is, and we've seen several times the ball going a little further away than the players expected to.
Boys, it is definitely the attacking side, the end Devonport's kicking to. Clarence obviously had it in the first quarter and used it well. Devonport can use it and get themselves back into the game with this quarter's win.
O'Brien took it off the ruck contest, but hand passed it out of bounds. You can sense that Devonport has certainly lifted here. They just need to make it count on the scoreboard when they get their opportunities. 9 scoring shots to 8 in favour of Clarence. It's out the back for Hardy. Who's he going to give it to? Maybe just took a little bit too long, but Viney, looking over his shoulder, was able to take the mark. And now Clinton Viney a chance to kick his second goal in 3 minutes. And Devonport all of a sudden would be back within just 10 points of Clarence here.
Not a player that I think Clarence players would know very well. Clinton Viney, ex-Latrobe, been playing football at a high level on the northwest for a long time. He's come to Devonport to try his luck. Great speed and power.
Viney, it's swinging back. It swung back a mile. It's a goal. He nearly started it at the left-hand point post. And the wind has swirled it back through for a goal. And Clinton Viney's kicked 2 in 3 minutes. Devonport trailing by 10 points here.
Well done to Clinton Viney. That was it was an amazing shot on goal to watch it fly. It took a huge curl. But in the end, it was Clinton Viney's hard work that found him in space. There was a bit of good fortune involved with that, but Devonport are coming back hard. It's great to see. As you see, Hardy now looks like he's gone to Thurley.
You got a direct line to Errol Bourne there.
Those Bernie boys, they...
You played in a premiership under Errol, didn't you, at Burnie?
I'd already left to take on my role at AFL Tas. Errol won a premiership in 2005.
See, McCrossan was playing for a free kick out the back. Good to see the umpire letting it go. It spills to Walker. He probably should get a free kick. He will. Riley just caught him a bit high, but certainly Devonport are coming, and you can hear their supporters starting to find their voice. Over the back again, Viney. He's kicked 2 on the trot. He couldn't kick a third, could he? He can!
He has. He's happy too. Well, this will give him a huge lift, won't it? Adrenaline, and momentum in grand finals. What a great few minutes of football for Clinton Viney and for the Devonport Football Club. It's 3 goals now, and I don't think the ball's... Has it been inside Clarence's 50 yet for this quarter?
No.
So a great turnaround in the fortunes of this game, and we're game on.
You've got to wonder where the premiership tattoo is going to go, but the way Clinton Viney's performing, he may just have to find room. He's kicked 3 goals in the space of about 5 minutes to get Devonport back within 4 points here in the grand final. What a performance. We saw earlier in the season that when he gets on a roll, he certainly can kick 5 up at the TCA against Hobart. And here come the Magpies again. McCrossan wants McDonald use the body to edge out Swan. It falls to the back for him. He goes on the left. Here's his brother, Brad McDonald. Has he got the smarts to beat off Castle? Worked it to Rundle. Good tackle, Sharman. That's a throw, surely, umpire. He lets it go, still here to be won the football, deep inside Devonport's attack. Whitelaw bustles in, he's dumped by Colbeck. Rundle goes again, Colbeck over the top. Who's going to win the footy? Swan's got it for a moment, Reynolds over him, still it goes. Well played, umpire, he just lets it go on in the grand final.
That's what you want to see.
And eventually Sharman gets it over the line, that's all he wanted. Boundary throw in.
The crowd are right in... Well, they're not. That's that portion of the crowd aren't, but the crowd in front of us are.
What are you doing, people? Boundary throw in. Colbeck got it to the back, but Baker was there for the Roos, and he does it quite smartly, just thumps it out towards the line. Williams paddles, and a good result for Clarence. They were under siege deep inside their defence.
And a great option, I think, to swallow the whistle. It's what we want to see in grand finals. We don't want to have it determined by decisions that are very tricky to make.
So this game, it hasn't gone up a notch, it's gone up several. Williams gets it down in front, it spills to McCrossan. He's got 3 Clarence players on him. You see Hardy just giving Baker a little shove, plenty of feeling. And Clinton Viney, well, grand finals are known for throwing up surprise packets, and he has put his hand up in the second quarter this afternoon. Extraordinary.
And we're not done yet. 3 and 10.
Yeah, it's not bad going, is it?
It's great going.
Hazelwood, as we said, was again so close to going back-to-back with the Tassie medal.
So Adam Green's been on Clint Viney for the day. A good stopper for Clarence. He's still with him there now. Gives away quite a few inches. Clint Viney can catch it.
Wish Wilson, kick was ineffective. There's Riley over the top of it now. We'll get a free kick, you'd think. The Devonport players had him there, but just a little bit too eager. So Riley, Hess will spoil, and it comes to Williams. They've got numbers out the back. It's Allen, needs to get it to boot quickly. It's a tumbly old kick. Sharman flies high, but it opens up now for the Pies. Hardy with space, has a bounce, has a shot on goal, hits the post.
He had the man inside too. He had the Viney man inside. He could have handballed and opened up the angle a little better, but you make those decisions on in a spur of a moment, don't you?
Castle dangerously to Gapin, hasn't had too much of it, got to push in the back, but play goes on. Castle kept on running, gets it back again, dangerous kick. Getting a hand to it was Clements. Arriving Walker, dispossessed, but he gets it to Allen, who hoists the left footer high, and it will land okay for Rundle.
Great effort.
Good vision, took the mark, a swirling ball. It was like an outfield catch here at Bellerive Oval.
Terrific hand, Sam Rundle.
He wants McDonald. The kick hasn't got the carry. Castle dropped it though. Good enough to recover. Gets it to Green. Green's going to send it out to the wing and make someone run for it. Thurley's the man to do that. He drops the mark. The pressure really on Clarence now. Thurley though manages to trap it, has to hand pass over his head rather indiscriminately. Oh, well played by Smith, sold the dummy, wants Hardy. O'Brien well played in return. He crashes in, wanted a footy more. He bursts away from them, kicks inside the 50. Who's there for the Roos? They're all running back. And in the end, it dribbles through for one behind. Jackson O'Brien, that's the way to play footy. Attack it hard.
Well done, Jacko. That's terrific play. As you can see out on the ground, there's hands on heads already around the ground at the moment. There's some tired bodies already. This has been a frenetic pace in this second quarter. So with at least 10 minutes still to go, there's going to be plenty of rest at half-time for these guys.
And you just get the feeling, Pro, that perhaps that 4 finals that Devonport have had to play to qualify might tell a story later in the game.
Yeah. Not sure which way it'll tell the story. They look
I'll
okay.
left it open for you.
That's right. I'm not going to go one way or the other on that. I think that they've started this second quarter in a way that suggests that they're up and ready to have this contest.
Williams gets it going Devonport's way. Gapin was legged. Umpire didn't see it. It spills to Rundle. It was almost away before the boundary line intervened. Had a couple of important touches though, Sam Rundle.
The keys for Devonport up forward have been a bit quiet, haven't they? Reynolds and Colbeck not yet having an impact on the game.
Certainly something they'd want to rectify. They're doing well to be as close as they are, really, when you consider their output so far. Here's Hazelwood, needs support. Rundle, hands on the up. Williams, well played. Smith, terrific tackle from Green. Smith was away. Play on advantage, it's with O'Brien, now it's with Gapin.
Gapin. Oh, his kick not a good one. McCrossan thumps it forward. Smith all on his own. Savage gets across. He squares it up for McDonald. Well done, Castle. Saw what was happening, read it well. Still alive, though, for the Magpies. Walker gets it back to Williams, who frees it up. Kick by Hardy, McDonald, and McDonald takes the mark. So Brad McDonald, Chris McDonald also involved. The brothers.
I like the way Brad looked. He saw it was Chris, and then I think he decided, well, I'm going to go since it's him. I reckon if it was somebody else, he would have let him have it. That's quite funny. Chris will be filthy if Brad misses this. Chris a little more reliable around goal. I don't want to put too much of a moz on Brad.
A swirling breeze and a dubious drop of the football at times. And it won't be a goal.
Connected
In fact,
very
it only
well.
just scrapes in for a behind. But that margin, Proe, is now back to 3 points after Clarence, with the first goal of this term, had led by 25. It's been a big turnaround.
And so we've seen both teams, haven't we, in 2 quarters battle to get the ball up the slope that's here at Bellerive.
It's coming back again for the Pies. Reynolds has Colbeck in the pocket. He finds him, and it's certainly not beyond him.
Good play from Ben Reynolds. There were Clarence players all deep in the square. He lowered his eyes. He knew Reece Colbeck wasn't there. He had to be somewhere else, and he spotted him in the pocket. And this is an open pocket for a left footer with the breeze the way it is. So it's well and truly achievable for Reece Colbeck.
What does he need to do here, Proe?
Just put it out into the left and just let the breeze grab a hold of it.
See how he goes. We'll know from the reaction.
Not quite. Started it too far right.
Thurley gets it from Green. Wants to try and take on Colbeck, but couldn't do it. Well done, big man. Gets it back from Baker. Colbeck flattens Thurley. And holding the ball, it'll be a free kick here to Devonport. Against Matthew Gapin,
I actually missed
perhaps.
that. I was watching Cameron Thurley's reaction after having Reece Colbeck fall on him, and he's actually going off the ground. I'm not sure whether that's because Colbeck's hurt him or not. But terrific pressure. We've had a couple of instances now where they haven't been able to clear the zone, as we see there.
It's Viney.
Well, really
very
quick on him
stiff.
there. Very stiff. He did hit the ball out as soon as he was tackled once he hit the ground.
Viney from outside 50, it swings back again. Has he repeated the dose? Not quite. Clinton Viney is having an absolute purple patch here in the second term. The margin now back to just 1 point.
Gapin gets it moving forward quickly, and a good mark by French, and Williams bearing down. Just imagine the Clarence coaching box saying, who in the hell is this Clinton Viney character, and what is he doing to us? Allen, the spoil, spills to Savage. They've got the numbers here, Clarence. Just needs to use it. No one comes to him, so Savage keeps running. Attacks the goal face. It's a foot race, and Standon's going to win that every single time.
Interestingly, he could have gone on then, couldn't he? And he had another player running into the open goal square. He's opted to take the safe option and go back and have a shot. But he wouldn't want to miss it. I think he could have really... let's have a look at this on replay. As you see... Yeah, don't quite get the angle on that. But Trent Standen, Pagan's paddock, wasn't it? Clarence all sweeping down the ground, trying to nullify this momentum that Devonport have had. They've dominated the game in this quarter, and that left a huge space. And Standen makes no mistake and puts the goal through, which is a great steadying goal for Clarence. 18 minutes now into the second quarter.
First goal in 10 minutes, Proe, and Standen second. A real steadier for the Roos. Margin back to 7.
You'd go so far as to say there wouldn't be many sides that have stopped Clarence from scoring and dominated the play like that for the season. That's been a very significant 10 minutes of footy, hasn't it?
Can they keep it up, the Magpies? They now need to respond. Williams. Smith. Well tackled and dispossessed by Whitelaw. Bredingham Moore gets his hand past to Baker. Baker, a fit of the fumbles, manages to gather though now. Sends them forward with a deep kick in the Standen direction. Oh, he almost took the mark. McCrossan did well. Paddled it back. Allen just hacks it out of there and it lands okay. Williams out towards the line.
Alistair, again, Clarence are ringing in the changes down here. Clarence have made 12 changes this quarter to Devonport's 8.
And what about Cameron Thurley, Tim? We saw him come off the ground. Was there anything to worry about there or just part of the rotation?
Phils looks like he's rotating with Ben Setchell. So every sort of couple of minutes, the boys are rotating through the midfield or on the back flanks.
Savage with a free kick, smothered by Williams. Oh, high tackle on Clements. And another one to go on with as well. James Baker clearly thinks, well, if they're going to ping me, they may as well ping me for 2 offences. Clements.
Normally a 50 these days.
He wants to switch it up, and he's done it well.
There's players everywhere for Devonport out here. It's very un-Clarence-like.
Crowden to Hazelwood. Where's Riley? I'm amazed not to see him going toe-to-toe with him at the moment. Crowden in the Reynolds direction. Oh, couldn't mark. Well done. Beautiful stuff from Rundle on his left boot. McDonald and Castle. Colbeck wants to get involved. The boundary line beats them all.
Got their roles a bit confused there. Big Coley roving and Brad McDonald going for the mark. But a really interesting stage there. Devonport had 5 or 6 players loose out on the grandstand wing, able to bring it forward without any pressure.
So Colbeck wants to get the ball back that was almost on to Simmons. Castle's wrapped up by McDonald. Opens it up. Well played Rundle. Feeds it back to Hardy. He's surrounded. Squares the ball up. Viney the target again. And why not? He's claiming the mark. Doesn't matter. Dances around a couple. Feeds it inboard. They're a chance here. McDonald, the hand pass from Walker, just couldn't find him. And now it's O'Neill. Clears it out. Trent Whitelaw. The kick, though, favours Smith, who does well. He's claiming the mark again. I don't think he marked it, so now he's in trouble. How'd the umpire call this?
Well, got to say, I thought Viney's probably was a mark.
We were a bit blindsided here, weren't we? Couldn't quite see. There was a player stopping us from getting the view on Viney.
It's a mark for mine.
So he's been robbed there.
Yeah, he has been robbed.
Here's Green. Allen to chop it off. Met by Stan, and it's a good tackle. Allen desperately wants the boundary line, and that's what they get. As Mott and Setchell see it over.
What a great game of football we have seen so far. Almost 22 minutes gone. And Devonport showing that it's not just here to make up the numbers. Williams and Savage. Savage thumps it. Gathered by Simmons. Now Smith, who's got himself involved in the game in this term. Walker gathers. Can't break the tackle of Green. Well done. Holding the ball.
Yeah, fair call from the umpire. He had plenty of time to dispose of it once he was tackled.
Mott's chopped it off for the Magpies. He spots the free man in Rundle. And Nick Probert's quite right. The Magpies have been able to get themselves free on many occasions in this term.
Rundle's been terrific the last 10
Reynolds
minutes.
well placed here. Oh, good spoil from Sharman. He is winning that battle at the moment. Mott couldn't gather it. Green attacked the footy, burst through the middle of the ground, kicks in the stand-in direction. Too much on the bounce for him. He follows up with a good tackle on Sean McCrossan, but he releases it out the back for Clements. Drury, though, regathers for Clarence. Setchell a hit and hope. Pains there for the Roos.
Well done, Trent Allen.
And he's done this time and time again, Trent Allen. Last week and this week again.
He's having a terrific final series, Trent Allen, and a very dangerous situation when the ball comes forward at the moment for Devonport defenders, because Clarence are all up the ground and they're running it back into space. So that was good work from him to stop that 4-0 forward for Clarence.
Rundle couldn't mark. Falls to Green. The hand pass was astray. Hess over the top. It comes back to Green. Somehow finds a way. The kick down the line, though, you'd expect Smith to see it out. He does. And no real attempt to keep it in, but would have been hard pressed to be pinged on that one. So a goal either way late in the second term. Just get the feeling it's so important. Devonport have made all the running, but Clarence to get one here. Here's Whitelaw. Pokey little kick inside, well spoiled by McCrossan. It was a good kick, and Setchell wraps him up.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Damien. I think this is a really nervous time for Devonport. They just need to be critically aware of how important it is to stay on their man, concentrate right to the end of this quarter, because if they can go in with the margin that is there at the moment, it'll be just a testing time for the minds of the Clarence players, won't it?
Absolutely. Setchell farms it out wide. Baker ducked his head, lucky not to be pinged. Setchell, it's going to land in the goal square. Payne almost. Second effort. Allen with him. Payne, Allen out the back stand, and hand pass was good. Plenty of players around it for both teams. Green across the body.
He's got it. It's the one they didn't want, and it's the one that Clarence desperately needed to regain that little gap that they had on Devonport all through the game so far. So a great crumb from Adam Green. He's got 2 of those now, I think, hasn't he? And then also, just for the players to stay in the contest, Nick Payne there. Devonport had an outnumber. They really should have got a hold of the footy and prevented that from happening. But Clarence they're now away again, and it's a 13-point margin just heading into half-time.
Adam Green's first goal for the season, and it has come in the biggest game of the year, and he is having some sort of a game as well. Margin back out to 13 points. No one really won that hit out. Westfield at the second bite. Mott, though, to Smith. Can Devonport get one more before half-time? It's Byard and Sharman attacking the football. His hand pass out in front of Westfield. Westfield met heavily. In the end, the attempted bumper was hit by the bumpy.
And he says to Alex Clements, can't you do any better than that?
Boundary throw in between wing and half forward for the Roos. And a free kick, in fact, is going to go the way of Clarence here, off the ball. We'll go to Westfield.
Interesting. Must be for the Clements incident, I think.
Gave to Thurley. Kicks towards 50. Oh, well played, Smith. That's the mark for sure. Ben Setchell doesn't agree.
Had a big quarter.
How many possessions now for Matthew Smith, Rick Finlay? Well, he got the first mitt on it. 12 possessions now, coming up for number 13. Kicks it up the wing, close to the line, over the line, and Cameron Thurley can reload again.
So Thurley, it's been a little bit quieter this term. Had plenty of company, though. The ball's been in Devonport hands most of the quarter, though. Here's Thurley inside 50. A little bit too much on it for Drury. Spills to Walker. He's got some time to run. Has McDonald over the back, just needs to find him.
So in the end, it's 3 goals each for the quarter, I think, isn't it? Yeah, so really, despite the play that Devonport have had, they've not really nullified or made any impact on this in this lead that Clarence have got.
Kick 3-7, Nick.
3-7. Disappointing result that way.
So Williams and Westfield. Westfield did well, got it down to Baker. Hardy. It's underneath Riley. And we'll do it all again. Kurt Hazelwood was so important last week, as he is every time he runs out in the black and white. Smith, clean pair of hands, has nothing really up forward, and will be happy with that. Gain some metres, get it out of play, start again.
Thought those things were banned, boys. Looks like the Vuvuzela has infiltrated the TSL.
I'm having nightmares.
So deep in the first half, Westfield just fisted it forward. Riley, met by Walker, just wants to get it out of the way. Gapen diving in, could have got a free. As could Setchell. He's over the top of it now. Mott's got him. You get the sense they're both teams perhaps playing for half-time.
Well, Devonport shouldn't, because if they can score another goal here, it could change the entire momentum of the way that they go in for the break and how they come back out again.
Here's Walker. Scrappy kick forward. Great contest over the back. He's given away a free kick, though. And O'Brien gets on his bike. The umpire, what's happening here? Got a free kick off the play. It's coming back.
Has to be going to Devonport.
It's going to go to Simmons. There it is there. It's a little elbow to the face of Simmons, courtesy of James Baker. Kick forward, Reynolds just can't quite impose himself on this game. Setchell to take it away for the Roos. Allen and Payne, it's a good contest. Allen's been terrific.
The clean out then was just too easy, wasn't it, for Devonport? They've got the two McDonald boys and Wuffy Smith all down forward to put on pressure once the ball hits the ground, and yet that came out as quickly as it went into the forward line. It was gone again.
Played over 29 minutes of the second term. Walker. His kick just marked inside the field of play, and that is half-time in the 2010 TSL Grand Final. A much better quarter from Devonport, but they still go into the long break, trailing Clarence by 13 points. It's the Roos 8-4-52, Devonport 5-9-39. So with 2 more scoring shots in that term, the Magpies have kicked 3 goals 7 to the Roos 3 goals 1. A lot to be said for accuracy, Nick Probert.
There certainly is. Just thinking back through the quarter of the players that missed those shots. Reece Colbeck had a set shot from the pocket. Clay Hardy had an opportunity to give it off inside. Of course, the Magic Man kicked 3 goals in Clint Viney, but he also missed another 1 or 2, didn't he? And then Brad McDonald with a set shot from around the 50-metre mark that possibly could have been
shot had by Chris, but in the end, they're the chances that, unfortunately, when you look back on games of football, might be the difference between winning and losing. The beauty for Devonport is that they've still got a half to play, and hopefully it won't be one of those things that they regret.
It's been an enthralling half of football, and we have another half of season 2010 to come. The ABC team's been at the football every Saturday throughout the season, revelling in all the action. And it's fair to say our crack crew of cameramen have captured a fair few special moments.
We don't ponce round with it. We kick goals.
Under pressure here again, although Green, who as we know can use the ball really well, he just frees it up, but O'Brien run down from behind.
Barrett to Banham, Mullet to Mullet.
Looks like John Densmore from the Doors.
Rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
He danced around him once, but terrific persistence there from Zach Webb. Shackleton, a bit of gamesmanship here.
Oh, Thurley, that's all class.
And we've seen him do this before, Scott Bennett.
Yeah, he's a performer.
He's
an actor.
I absolutely hate it. I hate watching footy. The good old Biff's gone out of footy a little bit. You know, I got Biffed a lot and never hurt me.
Bounce was cool. What big contest there. Big play was with this.
Monday, he'd run up the ground.
Hazelwood wanted the free, didn't get all. Big hit from
try to get the ball, and whatever's in my way, I'll go through it to get it. So.
boards with this goal umpires. Any relation of Gary Shipton? So the old State League's hitman Dale Wish-Wilson doesn't like the game anymore and thinks it isn't rough enough. Maybe Dale's just turned off by the romance of modern football.
Oh, and there's a little bit of a kiss.
There were goals that made your jaw drop.
Just needs some time, hasn't. Look at the goals. What's it? Wells might get a goal here. Yes, the lovely facial. New attack, stretching there, almost taking the grab was Young.
Darcy couldn't take the mark. Picking it up now, Barry. This one, Barry.
Big bags kicked.
A day out of the TCA.
Allison comes in, but he's got number 7.
He's gone long, he's gone towards goal. That is incredible.
He's made no mistake, and boy, does he celebrate Cameron Blight. Oh, that's an amazing goal from Nick Payne. You will not see a better goal this year.
And many match-winning moments.
Standen will kick his 6th goal and will ensure Clarence remains undefeated.
It's a difficult shot. His teammates like it. That's a great kick from Clarence.
Let's watch this again. Good balance. Thunders control it. Holds it inside. Outside of the right foot. Cool as you like.
These young kids have got some skill. And what about the marks?
Boogie
Good
Beach
mark.
there.
Big men monstered the packs. When it came to high flying, Jeremy showed how.
Oh! Now that has got to be one of the marks of the year.
Oh, don't you just love it?
He was launched as if off a trampoline, Jeremy Howe. That is a huge hang.
Quality. Beautiful. Gotta love him.
Some great moments there, expertly put together by Mike Sampi. Great cutting as well. And Proe, is there a moment that stands out for you in all of that?
It's been a great season, hasn't it? It's terrific to watch those on replay again. And I think Jeremy Howe, for me's marking ability, to see it come through at the end of the season was outstanding. But the Jamie D'Enio kiss on Daniel Willing, I still laugh about that and see the look on Daniel Willing's face. I don't think he understands what happened still to this day. So that's my highlight for the year.
Certainly been some classic moments in season 2010, and at half-time in the grand final we've got a 13-point margin in favour of Clarence after Devonport really fought back hard in the second term. Now, Clarence coach Brett Gapen's hoping to keep the record intact, 100% coaching record with another premiership here this afternoon, but he's actually managed an individual honour earlier today. We had the Tassie medal count, and the Tassie medal, of course, to the best and fairest in the TSL, and quite remarkably, Nick, He's only played 10 games of football before a career-ending neck injury, and he's managed to win the Tassie medal. Now, Zane Murphy from North Launceston actually polled one more vote but was suspended.
Right.
So, Brett Gapin, the Tassie medalist.
Absolutely, what an amazing effort. So, I haven't seen the breakdown of the votes, but you would think that he might have even done 6 times 3 and done best on ground 6 times out of the 10 games that he's played. I think it's still worth recognising the efforts of Zane Littlejohn, but Brett Gapin has been a wonderful footballer throughout his career. Who knows what the future holds for him with the neck injury that he sustained. Zane Murphy, of course, been, as I said, a terrific effort from him as well. So, well done to Brett. It's a wonderful effort. Today he could cap it off with a premiership as a coach as well, and he's going to have a pretty satisfied look back on season 2010.
It's hard to ignore a bloke who's kicking bag after bag after bag, isn't it? He's kicked 62 goals in 10 games, so that's averaging over 6. We saw him kick 8 on several occasions. And the other thing about it is he actually could have probably nearly kicked 100. He had so many shots at goal this season.
Well, he would have no doubt kicked 100 if he'd have played the rest of the season. And I guess history says that forwards don't often win Brownlows or any other medal for the best and fairest around the country. So I think that maybe highlights the achievement that he has made by winning the medal today. I'm sure Tony Lockett, he won one years ago, didn't he? But there's a lot of other great full forwards that were never able to win one.
So it was Brett Gapin winning the Tassie medal, and Zane Murphy with 19 votes, unfortunately ineligible. He had a magnificent season, spent several weeks on the sidelines through suspension. So it was Gapin on 18, Murphy on 19, then Hazelwood on 17. He won the medal last year, and Luke Shackleton from Burnie with 16 votes. Had another good season as well. Yeah, 2 coasters and 2 midfielders that are renowned for being in and under ball winners and terrific players and real representatives of their side that carry the banner for their team. So good effort to see both of those guys still polling well. Interestingly, that's an even spread, isn't it? There's not many votes to finish on to win a medal. I think that means that there's been a lot of players poll votes. I haven't had a look at the entire leaderboard or the tallies, but clearly for the leaders to be only in those numbers, it means that there's been a really large spread of votes given out by the umpires this year. So we've had all the individual honours, all the minor finals, and now the big one. At half-time in the grand final, it's Clarence, the defending champion, leading Devonport by 13 points, and that was after the Roos really jumped away in the first term, didn't they? They did, and the outstanding thing that Devonport have been able to do that so many teams prior to the grand final have been unable to do is they've been able to peg them back in the second quarter. We'll see in the second half whether or not it's a little to do with the breeze, but clearly Devonport's second quarter was outstanding and they were able to come back into the game. Just couldn't quite put a few of those goals away that they might have. 7 behinds in that term to the Magpies. Drury's kicked a couple, Standen a couple, French, Thurley, Green and Green. Viney kicked 3 in a 5-minute purple patch and broke the game open. And he still remains a key for them. Clearly he's been one of Devonport's only players that can really break away from the Clarence defence, and he's going to be critical in the second half. Thurley's up to 18 possessions, so he's only had 7 in the second term. Setchell's had 17. Josh Green's really starting to come into the game. He's laid a couple of really good tackles as well. 12 possessions for him and 12 for Jackson O'Brien. Adam Green with 11 has been good for the Roos. Matthew Smith's second term was superb. Excellent, excellent. Sometimes I think he holds the play back and slows things down a little too readily, and they battled then Devonport to get it going again. But certainly a real key in their midfield, along with McCrossan on 13. Trent Allen was wonderful, as we spoke about, in the back line there on 10, and Reece Mott there on 9. There's the man we've been speaking about as well, Clinton Viney on 7 as well. We didn't see the statistics in terms of kicks and possession and that sort of thing there, Nick, but I certainly get the sense in that term, after being dominated in the opening term, Devonport was able to get its hands on the football a lot more. They were. I think the stats that I've been given by Rick show that it's 69 to 67, only 2 possessions difference, Clarence way, so a very even quarter possession-wise. So the third quarter, well, it's an old adage, isn't it? But it's the premiership quarter, so really it's all to play for Devonport. They need to be able to stay within, I would have thought, 5 goals. Anything more than that puts it out of reach for them. Anything under 3 goals. They're a real show in that last quarter, particularly with the confidence. Yeah, we've certainly established that kicking to the river end, the southern stand end, that's the scoring end, isn't it? It is. It absolutely is, and we saw the goals there by Clinton Viney. This late snap by Adam Green brings Clarence back to the... brings Clarence back into that situation where they're in front a little more. So 158 possessions to the Roos now, and to Devonport the total is 128. So only a gap of 30. It was 32, or actually 28, I think, at quarter time, Nick. 49 marks to 32. Inside 50s have evened up an awful lot as well. The Magpies really surging forward in that term. Drew Westfield doing a good job in the ruck for the Roos this afternoon. The centre breaks going the way of the Magpies, though.
Yeah, they've been terrific, the centre breaks. Look, midfields, I think, are quite evenly matched. It's not as one-sided as people might think it may be with the Clarence midfield. Devonport have got plenty of good players today. And Sam Wish-Wilson, I think, is standing up. Clay Hardy, now that he's gone on to Cameron Thurley, certainly doing a good job. And towards the end of that quarter, Sam Rundle was pretty good as well. You add that to your McCrossans, your Hazelwoods and those type of players, and there's plenty of value through the midfield for Devonport that can see them. They can win this game.
Well, we saw there were question marks over the Magpies' ability to run out games earlier in the season, but they'll take a big positive out of last week, won't they, when they were able to run out the game well against Launceston? Yeah,
and obviously Errol Bourne has come back and said, really, it's not fair to blame the condition of our whole team on maybe the image of one of our players, and we all love Reece Colbeck, and I think he was referring to Reece in that instance, and I don't know, I think that Devonport have got a lot more fitness and an ability to run through midfield than people give them credit for.
If they can get Ben Reynolds starting to get his hands on the footy a little more, he had a few opportunities in that term, and Sharman dominated that contest.
Yeah, Ben's been a little disappointing up until now, and right about now you wish Vinnie Ponsonby was playing in this Devonport side, who can provide that X factor that Clinton Viney was able to provide on the ground, but he can provide it in the air, and he can kick goals and kick them quickly. They don't have him. Ben Reynolds, it's really a situation where he's got to decide whether he's going to make an impact on this game or not.
Half-time at Bellerive Oval in the grand final. A 13-point margin to the reigning premier Clarence. Let's head outside and find out what Tim Hazel's been able to find out at half-time.
Alistair, I've been into rooms at half-time. I went into Clarence and it was intriguing because Matt Gapin did a lot of the speaking, really revved up the boys. He said, for some reason we seem really flat. We need to be energised here. The beauty about Clarence is if you look at their line coaches, you've got Clarence, you've got Cameron Blight, Ben Setchell and Cameron Thurley, all speaking about their lines and what to do and what not to do. Ducked over, Errol Bourne, he was fantastic. He was really upbeat. He's just said, you've got to finish these goals off. You've just got to finish your work, because they are working hard. They're tackling ferociously, but they're just not finishing and putting that goal-scoring pressure onto Clarence. But both coaches seemed happy, but a lot of work to be done.
Thanks to Tim Hazel on the boundary line. And in the second term there, boys, we actually saw Devonport at the 18-minute mark. It was only trailing by 1 point. So Clarence with the last 2 goals, Damien, and 2 steadiers that they very much needed.
You're certainly right, Alistair. For the majority of that quarter, it was all Devonport, and really, if they had have converted their shots on goal, they would have gone into half-time in front. But look, credit to Clarence. They're a classy team. They know how to finish, and they're going to be very, very difficult to overrun in the second half.
You don't see them play too many quarters that are consecutively bad. Not to say that their second quarter was bad. It was just that they were outplayed by a Devonport outfit that seemed to be applying themselves in a far more determined fashion. But Brett Gapin was not very satisfied at quarter time. I mean, they were in front on the scoreboard by 19 points, Nick, but he gave them a bit of a rev, and I'd imagine there would have been more of the same at half time.
I'm sure there would have been. It would have been nice to be a fly on the wall in the Clarence or the Devonport change rooms for that matter. There's no doubt that as this game wears on, the experience that is in the Clarence side may prove a telling factor in terms of how they think their way through this game. There's no doubt that, you know, football is a very long game. It's not over in a second. You can think your way through a match and you can find out ways to beat your opponent, whether that be an individual matchup on a player or whether it's a team. So I think as the game goes on, it's certainly more in Clarence's favour. Obviously, they're in front on the scoreboard, so that certainly helps as well. But it's going to be, again, it's one of those things. You've got to reset, you've got to go to your man, get a good match-up and make sure that you've got good body position on him. And when the first contest comes your way, make sure that you're in front and ready to go. And who knows, if you can do that and get your hands on the ball, it could be heading your way. So Devonport, all to play for them. 39 points, they need the first goal.
Well, all we actually need now, Nick, is Devonport. Clarence has been out on the field for a couple of minutes, and the Magpies have perhaps taken a little extra time at half-time. Maybe Errol Bourne just trying to make the the opposition a little restless, waiting for their opponents to come back out onto the ground. This is a team that'll be upbeat. They know that when they play their best football, it's very difficult to match. And they won the contest in that second term. They really went hard at the player, hard at the ball, and it was fantastic to see. Clinton Viney's little purple patch. He kicked goals at the 4-minute mark, the 7-minute mark, and the 8-minute mark, and really just ignited his team. When he gets on a roll, he's very hard to stop.
And Alistair, I think we forget that, of course, last time they were down here, 15 points up at three-quarter time, they really gave Clarence a shake, and for whatever reason, they seem to match up well when they certainly don't fear them.
No, they certainly don't, and they'll take a lot of confidence out of that. So I think Errol Bourne and his team would have walked away from that match while being massively overrun in the last term. They would have got some sense of self-belief out of it because they knew that for 3 quarters they were able to match it with the best team in Tasmania. And got to say, boys, I thought that day Trent Standen got hold of them in the last quarter. Crowden had held him to 2 goals up until three-quarter time, and then Standen kicked 5 in the last, and there was no change made at any stage. If they're going into the last quarter in the game and Standen gets 1 or 2 early in the last, I don't think that matchup is going to continue.
No, and they don't necessarily have a great bunch of players to call on for the replacements for Standen. Sam Rundle was very good at ground level and got good speed, good overhead. Ben Walker, of course, has been down there around those positions in the past. Maybe a Sean McCrossan could go there, but
Brad McDonald seems the only one with enough genuine pace to go with him, but then I guess you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
You are a little. I don't know if you really want Brad that far down and having to make decisions with by feet coming out with the footy. I really like Brad's ability this game up forward and the way that he's competed, and I think he's going to be better value for the Devonport side up there.
There's umpire Ben Leonard preparing to get things underway in the second half. Riley and Hazelwood. Riley doing pretty well in that battle.
Interestingly, Sean McCrossan lining up on Trent Standen early.
13 points the margin. And we're underway in the 3rd term of the TSL Grand Final. The bounce favoured Williams. Crashing in was Hazelwood. Couldn't take the footy. Thurley gets it out to O'Brien, who breaks the tackle. Gets it to Josh Green, who kicks it out into open spaces. Viney, the excitement machine, just gains a few precious metres for Devonport and a few more as well. Well played. And it's over the boundary line. We'll have a throw in between wing and half forward for the Magpies. Down to Tim Hazel. Tim, what can you tell us about the conditions now?
Look, the wind again is just picking up and then it's dropping off, but the crowd is very, very vocal. It's going to be an extremely loud second half, especially sitting here in front of the Devonport faithful. But I am expecting a little bit of rain late in this game because there are some dark clouds coming our way, Alistair.
Thanks, Tim. And early stages of the 3rd term. And it's Clarence getting the ball going forward. Allen against Whitelaw. Allen does well. Could almost got a free kick there. It was play on.
Yeah, in the back, I think it could have been called for Trent Allen there. He looked around to the umpire straight away. Nothing giving.
So the ball being played on the outer wing. Thurley just takes it out of the ruck, feeds it back to O'Neill. They've got numbers here, Clarence. It's with Green. This is dangerous. Usually spots someone up. Standen, the target, just couldn't quite get him. McCrossan on his hammer. Standen, though. Hand pass on the up, gets it to O'Brien, shrugs one off, has players presenting inboard. One of them is French, it must have been touched, lays it off to Thurley across the body, and the wind will see that one out of play.
Had more time than he thought there, perhaps, Cameron Thurley.
He was good at that ruck stoppage before. Very frustrating to see those little things that then result in a foray forward for Devonport, for the Devonport coaching staff, I'm sure.
A couple of experienced old North Launceston heads taking the game in. They'll be happy to see their under-18s won the grand final over Clarence here earlier. And Clarence winners of the reserves grand final. The scores in those games: North Launceston in the under-18s 10-11-71 to Clarence 7-8-50, and the Roos in the reserves 8-8-56. North Hobart 7-11-53. A free kick to Hazelwood. Oh, good mark, Hess. One to Ruckman. Now a very competent defender. He chips it over the top to Williams, who's got the run of Walker if he wanted him, but just takes his time. Kicks up the wing. McDonald out positioned by Whitelaw. Stuart Whitelaw, good hand pass to Savage. He's backtracking, but buys himself some time. And a good kick to Baker. Baker wants to go. He sets it up to centre-half forward. Hess is well placed here. Whitelaw coming, but Hess holds the mark with sure hands and uses McCrossan, who gets it to Smith.
Smith with a bit of time, just has a lazy bounce, assesses his options, and well, he wanted Mott, couldn't get it to him. Whitelaw just busts through the tackle from Mott, gets it going forward. McCrossan sees it out of play.
He's a master of that, Stuart Whitelaw, isn't he? He's a very hard man to tackle.
Yeah, he's very, very strong, and he's a terrific player. One of the better players for Tasmania in their representative game against Queensland this year. Just disappointing that Wuffy and the Devonport players didn't look to come out the other side there. We're over in congestion on this side of the ground where the wind is blowing the ball.
Need to see them taking a few more risks. It's Adam Green attacking the goal face. McCrossan will need to go. He does. Good footy. He was the last line of defence. Clarence players were circling, but he held on to it. The kick, though, is a little bit scrappy out to Walker. He has to get away from Stan, and that's easier said than done. As the umpire called this out of play.
And again, it was terrific from Sean McCrossan to get a possession of the football there, but didn't look out the open side at all to even see there was a loose player out here, and this is where we need to go. This is where Devonport would need to go if they're going to move the ball out of the back line.
Almost opened up there for Baker, storming into goal. He couldn't gather. Oh, terrific mark there taken by Mott. Very laconic. The kick, again, he's done that a couple of times.
Well, that's the precise reason that there's so much breeze over this side of the ground that it's quite difficult to possess the ball well and move it up the ground.
So playing into Clarence's hands a bit here, you feel the Pies. 13 points in arrears. They need to take a few risks. In front there, good mark taken by Green. Whitelaw just shepherded Allen out of the way, did it well.
Not
5
sure
marks
why
now.
Williams didn't go then.
It's a bit of a strange one, and well
he did,
Allen,
I guess.
Allen on the mark, so Whitelaw just dropped out the back. He's a smart player, and he's a good shot on goal. So we need to just see the kick coming in.
Tim Hazel, you'll get a pretty good look at this one. Talk us through it.
Whitelaw coming in, he stabs. It's got the distance, boys. There's not a lot of wind, and he didn't need any assistance from the wind in the air, but enough foot power there from Trent Whitelaw to score Clarence's 9th goal coming into the 3rd quarter.
Full marks to Tim Hazel, full marks to Trent Whitelaw.
Well done, Tim. So
thanks, Proey.
I thought the effort from Ryan Williams, unfortunately, if you're a big man, he's just got to nail that ball that Josh Green marked prior. He's probably got a foot on him in height. Green able to mark the ball. Really, for big fellas, you've got to have more of an impact in the air than that.
So Clarence with the last 3 goals of the game. Their margin back out to 19 points here. And here's French sending them forward again. Drury's got a couple of metres on Hess. He marks inside 50. Could be in range here, Drury, although he wants to give it off. Whitelaw leads, Standen leads. Josh Green going to the goal square. He's managed to get a few metres here on Smith, and now the kick goes in that direction. And Smith just started treading water. Once he saw that Green was getting away from him, he just stopped.
There's the, I think there'd be probably 12 years difference in age there between the two players, and it surely showed just as Green accelerated away to find space for that kick.
Josh Green from 45 metres on a tight angle. We know he's got class. He sits it up, wants the wind to do some work, but it doesn't. 1 behind, the margin 20 points. Saw a shot of umpire Jason Williams, who was involved in that brutal collision in the preliminary final. He hasn't umpired a State League Grand Final since 1995, boys. The same year he umpired about 10 AFL games and then decided to hang up the flags, but he's back. And he's making a significant impact.
He is.
In more ways than one, Alistair. Here's Savage working in a tight space, did well. Got it back to Setchell. A hand pass over the top was hopeful, if anything. Although O'Brien, well, he's run down now. Should be holding the footy, it is. Well played by Alan Clements. Could have got into his back, but just rolled him in the tackle. And again, they just look to attack fairly conservatively. Although Mott going a bit longer on this occasion. Reynolds has got a couple to beat. Sharman almost plucked it himself. Hardy off the ground. They're inside 50. McDonald back to Hardy. Kick to the top of the square. They're a chance here flying from behind with Simmons. Couldn't get it. Whitelaw did well. Cool head. Left-footed down the line. only as far as Williams. Over the top to Reynolds. Desperately need him to get involved, the Pies. Williams to Smith. They need players inboard. Smith just pumps it towards the goals. In front is Blight and Sharman. They read the play well, those two.
Devonport just losing their way a little bit going forward there. They didn't quite have any idea what they were going to do, and you could see it in the eyes of the faces, in the eyes of the boys who had the ball.
It's more just kick and hope stuff, wasn't
it, with nobody forward to kick to.
Terrific effort by Clements going back with a flight. He could be in trouble for dragging it in. I'm happy to see the umpire's going to ball it up. He really did earn that.
8.5 minutes gone in the third term. Crowden shovels a little kick forward. Baker couldn't gather, did in the end. Stripped of it by Reynolds. How will the umpire see this one? He's going to bounce on attacking 50. The Magpies pressing. There is Ben Reynolds, the Lefroy medalist, Tasmania's best in that game against Queensland earlier in the year. They need him to have a big second half. Savage's little kick. And one high here to go the way of Clint Riley at the bottom of all of that. He gets his hand pass off. Here comes O'Brien. Thurley's ghosted back. The kick had too much on it and well chopped off there by Chris McDonald.
So McDonald's been moved back to a half-back flank, obviously, to try and shore up the Devonport defence at the score, what appears to be the scoring end of the ground.
Crowden takes on Standen, kicks up the wing. Reynolds. The kicks just haven't really been to his advantage. Whitelaw breaking tackles at will here. Gapin got it from Green. Hand pass back to Westfield. Good kick. Mark taken by Brettingham Moore. He gave it off to Standen. Kick by Matthew Gapin. Again, too much on it. May have been touched. McDonald got himself into a bit of a sticky situation. McCrossan probably wise to see it over the line.
I think McDonald thought the ball had been touched and he hadn't been paid the mark, so he took off, was called the mark and wanted to actually go back, but he'd already committed himself to go.
It's all a little bit confusing as Hess and Savage in the ruck work. Over the top of it was Sean McCrossan. Spills out Devonport's way in front of Williams and Westfield. Interesting stage of the contest. Hasn't been too many goals kicked to the end that Devonport's kicking. They'd dearly love to get a couple, just narrow that gap or at least hold that gap going into the last quarter. Clarence, on the other hand, will be looking to set up a match-winning lead. Great footy coming out there from the Pies. Walker to Mott. He's in trouble. Now the umpire called this in the back. He was lucky because Clarence were away.
He was lucky, wasn't he? Roos has the ability to drop his legs when he can feel pressure coming, and like so many talented midfielders, to earn a free kick that way. You see a bit of rain coming in on the screen now, which is going to play into Clarence's hands with the scoreboard lead that they've got.
Yeah, I think you're right, Proe. We'll get Tim Hazel to keep us updated on the weather at ground level. Westfield won that one, but it falls to Simmons. Hand pass back, missed his target. Coming through his stand and good footy. Made it his own, wants Drury inboard. Drury did really well below his knees. He's gone though. Great tackle from Hess. Got to McCrossan, to Hazelwood, to McDonald, to the Pies with a chance to build. McDonald with a funny old kick out wide. Really didn't favour Reynolds at all. It's been the story of the day. O'Brien wrapped up, it's high.
Frustrated Ryan Williams. He's been battling really hard all day, but a big fellow tackling a little fella's got to get low in the hips.
Just couldn't get low enough, Proe.
Hazelwood starting to work into the game in the last few minutes, which is good to see for Devonport's future.
Seeing free kicks being given away at will here. Williams gets one of his own back.
So amazing start to the third quarter, just a real lull from the scoreboard. It's not moving at all at the moment.
O'Brien to Westfield, to Adam Green, to Gapin. They link up by hand. French got it. Now Riley. Good kick out in front of Whitelaw. He's got a few metres here on Allen. Thurley leads. He's got a few metres on Crowden, but a poor kick, and Crowden monstered it. Allen now can use Crowden. This little hand pass just sat up a bit too much, sold him into trouble. Not a good hand pass either. Brettingham Moore, well done by Allen. Wrapped him up.
They had a 3-on-1 and everybody ran away from Philip Croden and left the poor fella to have no choice but to try a low percentage handball. That's where the team's got to be better, to really look after each other and look after the ball carrier to run it forward. They had an opportunity then.
Only one goal kicked in this quarter. James Baker wants to do something about that, and he has shanked it straight to Clements. Viney leads for him. Oh, Standen was tempted to lay the tackle, but Clements hadn't deviated off the mark in the eyes of the umpire. McDonald's got a task here to do on Swan. Swan does well, works it back, but only as far as the other McDonald, who punches it out of the air. And
bad luck.
Umpire Nick Foote, umpire of the year, says that's a throw, son. Clements best placed here, needs to take on the tackle of Baker, can't break it. Oh, push in the back. Well, I'm not too sure about that.
I had him pinged. I had him going for holding the ball.
I had no prior ball up. I certainly didn't have him in the back.
Not much he could do there, James Baker. Long kick. Williams tries to impose himself on the contest. Hazelwood has had himself with Riley imposed all over him all day. More good pressure, more good tackling. Neither team willing to give an inch here, and it's not a bad result for Devonport. Even though they trail on the scoreboard, they've contained Clarence to 1 goal in 14 minutes of football, and they're kicking to the scoring end.
Sam Wish-Wilson going off there with what looks like an ankle injury.
He doesn't look good. We'll get an update from Tim Hazel as soon as we can. In the meantime, O'Brien, he's got troubles of his own. Shoveled it out, came to McCrossan on the left foot, puts him inside 50 again. Reynolds behind, and Whitelaw arrives. We'll be pretty happy to see this one out, and they do in front of Sharman.
So I can't see Reece Colbeck. I think he's on the bench. Sam Rundle's been moved to the one-out full forward position with Cameron Blight on him, which is a speed advantage, you would think, for Sam.
Westfield laid it down. They've done well here, Clarence, from the stoppage. O'Brien with some space, wanted Savage, missed him entirely. Now it's with Allen, and he's got McDonald up ahead of field if he can just gather. Needs to get away from Green, does well. And McDonald, one out. Castle did really well. Just came over the top, won the footy. Wants Standen. McCrossan with him. Standen's second effort was good. Hand pass inside. Drury v Hess. And the boundary line wins out.
Sean McCrossan on Trent Standen is proving to be a pretty good matchup now.
Yeah, he is. He's able to compete in the air, isn't he? And at ground level, he's been very good so far this quarter. It's a good matchup.
9 possessions to Standen, a couple of goals. Good hit by Savage to a dangerous position. No free kick to Gapin. McCrossan pounces on it. Williams lumbers after it. Wants to try and beat off Westfield. Sells himself into trouble. Wants the line. Gets the line. Ambitious stuff from Ryan Williams.
He says to himself. I don't think he expected after the second turn to see Drew Westfield still closing on him.
20 points the margin in the grand final after Clarence led by 13 at half-time. Gapin takes it off the ruck contest. Farms the hand pass out to Brettingham Moore, who escapes a would-be tackler. Setchell's there for the Roos. Knocked off the football was French. Setchell bustles it forward. Well played, Adam Green to Gapin to Josh Green. Can they kick a lifting team goal? Green can't quite.
You've seen Al Clements just then to put pressure on Josh Green. He's the loose player behind the ball for Devonport, and Clarence are opting not to keep their loose player back in the back line. He's actually at the contest. So Clarence at the moment, whenever there's a stoppage through the middle of the ground, have got one extra player there because Devonport are opting to have a player behind the ball.
The kick from McCrossan to his brother has missed him. It was Trent kicking to Sean, and he's put it into the wet area. And just as we were complimenting Sean McCrossan on his job on Trent Standen, his brother has gifted him a shot on goal. That being said, it would take a marvellous kick. And he comes, certainly not beyond him. He keeps it low. It's working back. It won't be a goal. Green flies from behind. Gets it again at ground level. Payne in the pocket. Left foot over the shoulder is not going to be a goal. And could have been some talk.
Real lack of talk there, wasn't there? He could have taken the mark. And if there's no pressure...
That's an interesting decision to make.
It is. There's no pressure there on that ball. And rightfully so, Matthew Gapin or Matthew Drury asked the question of the umpire then.
Pressure's always a matter of perception, Nick, and clearly Clements thought he was under pressure.
He had nobody telling him that it wasn't the case.
Brettingham more to Riley, to Setchell. Setchell shrugs off McDonald, then centres it to Westfield. Westfield wants to move it on to Stuart Whitelaw, who's been good for the Roos. His kick is good, but French can't mark it. Viney did well to get it out to Crowden. Crowden just wants to clear the defensive line. Swan paddles. Chris McDonald there. He tries to knock it on to Matthews. Hand pass from Savage, a good one to Whitelaw. He's got it 70 from goal. He squares it up to Matthew Gapin. He's a good decision maker, Stuart Whitelaw, and Gapin's short kick not good. Opportunity for McCrossan, but Drury's robbed it of him, and he shoots a goal, and he's pulled it. So a chance goes begging for the Roos. 18 minutes played, and only one goal kicked in this term. Devonport has not managed to trouble the scorer, kicking to the northern end of the ground.
McCrossan, well, he's having a torrid time kicking out. This one, again, will be out on the full. At least he's cleared it outside the 50, I suppose, but...
There's a real reluctance to come out the open side of the ground. I can see what they're trying to do. They want to shut down the scoring and make sure Clarence don't dominate them, but they just are battling to get it out when they go out this side of the ground because of the wind.
And a kick coming in, board from Gapin. Well, that's his last two kicks inside 50. Have really let his teammates down. Uncharacteristic. And Matthew Smith again, the defensive side of the ground. Nick Probert is beside himself. Rowan Swan, an easy mark.
Ben Walker was 40 metres on his own out the other side. Anyway, we'll move on. It's a great game of football.
It is. And you just love to see Devonport perhaps take it on a bit more. Here's McDonald. At least he was trying to take on Savage. Ill-advised at the best of times.
Damien, you asked about Sam Wish-Wilson. He received a little corky just above the right knee in a very, very awkward and yucky spot. He's trying to get himself warm, trying to get the blood flowing, and hopefully he can return to the field soon.
Nothing nice about those yucky spots, Tim.
Definitely not. I'll tell you what, it's a yucky one right above the right knee as we see Clint Matthews receive a 50-metre penalty. Good for Devonport.
Thanks to Tim Hazel on the boundary line, and Matthews, well, he's been taken. The man on the mark will be 50, and Matthews kicking into the breeze. Let's have a look here. Savage and Matthews. One Savage by surname, one Savage in reality. Blight's back there. Rundle attacks the footy for Devonport. McDonald couldn't get a handle on it. Did get a handle on Castle. Rundle, well played, bashes himself into the contest. Has he got a free kick? I think he has here.
Matthew Gapin pleading dumb, but he absolutely knows what's going on there.
They talk about free kick counts and things, but if you put your head over the football like Rundle did then, you deserve free kicks. Viney, back to Rundle. He's in range, just couldn't handle it. Diving in there was Gapin. Missed it with his hand pass. Payne held. Castle. He gets a hand pass to Adam Green. The Roos are going to clear it here through Whitelaw, having a big quarter. O'Brien's in space. He can have a couple of bounces. They're coming at him now. There's no one for him to kick to. Hardy's got a hand to it. Green's there standing as well. Green gets a couple of metres. He eyes the goal. Clements, big play. Manages to get a hand to it. Josh Green, that was a certain goal, and Devonport survives again. The margin an even 4 goals. Another perilously dangerous kick out of defence. Allen did just enough.
Well, he'd normally eat those up, Josh Green, and I think Cameron Thurley had a few words to him as well. I think he was right to have the shot. He probably had a little more time to straighten up than he thought.
It's been a wasteful quarter for Clarence. They've certainly had the opportunities. And now, is that a free kick if he's fisted it out on the full from the throw-in?
It is. It's been paid.
So
Clint Matthews is aware as well. I don't think many other players on the ground are, though.
You don't see it very often. Josh Green certainly knows about it. He's got the footy.
He was right on top of it, wasn't he?
So to thump it along to a dangerous spot, French sets himself, standing at ground level to Payne. Swan out the back of all people. Flying shot on goal. It's not going to register a score. Fairly terrific contest. Took a few with him, but Matthews was still standing. They're away now. If Walker can get away from Green, he can. Runs his measure. The kick, though, had players presenting, put it onto the chest of Westfield, and now it's Adam Green to build for the Roos again. Goes for his namesake, and Josh Green gets the free kick for in the back.
This game is right in the balance here. Devonport's done a good job to choke the Roos down here, but they could ill afford a goal now. Almost 23 minutes played in the third term. 4 goals the margin. Savage in the cross, and Savage always had the height advantage and the strength. And he just delicately nudged out his opponent.
Clint Matthews, you can see on picture there, just being in the zone for Devonport rather than on a man. And the kicker was Josh Green, and he was able to notice that Savage had a real mismatch in Trent McCrossan on him. So it's a smart kick to straighten up the kick over to Savage.
This to make it 5 goals. Brennan Savage has been in the Roos best in both finals. Against Launceston, his kick, will it come back? No, it won't. Another behind to the Roos. They could be costing themselves potentially here if Devonport can get a run on in the last. In this term, Clarence has kicked 1 goal 6.
Gee, I thought he did everything right there, Savage. Hung it out, but that wind is, it's a bit tricky, isn't it?
Coming from a different angle to the other kicks we've seen at this end. Didn't bend at all.
So here's McDonald, he sharked it well. He'll be wanting this one to go out as O'Brien tracks it back, ducks his head. Simmons has got him, that's holding the ball, surely. I've called out of play, well.
No, that's holding the ball from ducked the head, too bad, then didn't get rid of the footy when he had plenty of time.
Prior opportunity was certainly there. So a reprieve for Clarence. It's on centre wing. Walker over the back, had a bit more time. Gets it inside 50. Reynolds and Sharman go at it again. Sharman winning that one comprehensively. Simmons, though, gets it to Rundle. An important kick was shoved in the back. Affected the kick. The umpire didn't see it. So see Sam Rundle.
And the shots, I think, there show actually how little pressure Devonport are putting on in the forward line when the ball goes in there. It's frustrating to watch.
They're just running it out a little bit too easily at the moment, the Roos. Here's Castle. And that's a good mark by Green, and turns and goes. He's an excitement machine, Josh Green. Inside 50, the kick. Well, too much on it for Savage. Croden, though, left it behind. Savage left it behind. And the hand pass favoured Walker.
Get it out of there.
That's just your old-fashioned up-country punt. Croden. And O'Brien dueling out on the wing. O'Brien's been very good and not arrived to see it out of play.
Well, it's a really tight tussle, isn't it, the third quarter. There's hardly any goals being scored. Devonport would be well satisfied with where they're at. They've just got to be careful not to just kick it anywhere when the ball's coming out of defence, and still look for targets, even though the bodies are getting tired.
Can the Magpies pinch one late in the third quarter to have the wind in their sails heading into the final term? Wish Wilson's back on. Limped off earlier with what looked like could have been a nasty leg injury, but good to see him back.
Got a blood rule, boys.
Rundle's coming off for the Magpies. Big Colbeck's going on.
Also, just down here on the boundary, Kurt Hazelwood's just getting a little bit of attention to his right calf. It is a little bit tight, nothing to worry about, but they'll be trying to freshen these legs up for the last quarter.
Umpire Foot lays it down. Williams. And Drury gathers. Got it to Standen a long way up the field. Thurley on a long lead. That is a wonderful kick. Thurley may feel like he's in range here.
He's well within range here. He's well within it. Now he's got no choice.
This is a big kick in the context of the grand final.
Gives a torpedo, Cameron.
You could not have the football in better hands.
He's been very quiet this quarter, and since that amazing opening term, hasn't impacted the game the way he would have liked. And maybe this is his chance.
All the Devonport big men get back. Will the kick have the carry? It won't. A 25-point margin in favour of Clarence at three-quarter time in the grand final. Only 1 goal kicked in a real arm wrestle of a third term. Devonport's done a pretty good job to contain Clarence. They were very inaccurate in that term. I wonder, could it potentially cost them here? They'll be hoping not. In that quarter, Clarence with 1 goal 6. And the Magpies, they did not score.
They didn't score, but they're not out of this contest. Their second quarter, where they are about to kick to in this last quarter, was one of 2 two sides to it, wasn't it? In the first half of the second quarter, they dominated play and were able to move the scoreboard over very quickly, and they will have confidence that they can come back at this Clarence team in the last quarter and give this premiership one last shake. I think that they went into shutdown mode a little too much there in that quarter. They looked too much to restrict the score of Clarence rather than actually score themselves, and in the end that played a little into the Clarence hands. They were very fortunate that the kicking for goal wasn't more accurate than it was. Otherwise, this game would be all over. As it is, Devonport are in with a chance.
25 points the margin as the players break to their respective huddles, their different zone huddles. Clarence will still be feeling confident. They have a habit of finishing games strongly, but Devonport has done enough to ensure that at three-quarter time they're close enough if they're good enough. Only one goal kicked in the third. That was to Trent Whitelaw at the 5-minute mark. And Clarence following up with 6 behinds to lead by 25.
Just an interesting subplot here, Al. We know Clarence, their premiership success is, well renowned, I suppose, but Devonport, a lot of these players have actually played in a lot of losing grand finals. Nick Probert's smiling alongside of me. He was the architect of a few of those. But Ben Reynolds was one. I'm just thinking he's played in 3 losing grand finals. A lot of those boys, I reckon that still lingers and there's still that extra motivation. Perhaps we might see that coming out in the last term, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. You look through the list here, you've got Clint Matthews, Philip Croden, McCrossan was in a couple of those, wasn't he? And if you look through the whole team, there'd be many others as well. But it's one of those things, you don't want to go through the end of your career without actually having won a premiership, or even worse, having lost several.
The Roos have led at every change. The margin 19 at quarter time, 13 at the half, and now 25 at three-quarter time. Let's take a look at those goal kickers. Matthew Drury has kicked 2, both of those in the opening term. Standen has kicked 2. French, Whitelaw, Thurley, Green and Green. Viney kicked 3, and he kicked them in a 4-minute burst in the second term. Devonport's other goal kickers, Brad McDonald and Reece Mott. Josh Green up to 24 possessions, so the recruiters are going to be happy with what they've seen this afternoon. 1 goal 3. He could have probably bumped himself up the rungs a little bit if that was 4 goals straight.
Absolutely, but that's the way he's used his possessions. He's taken the game on, hasn't he? And he hasn't. His efficiency and effectiveness of a disposal would be very high, and that's a sign of a class midfielder, isn't it? Able to find a target, know when to run, know when to get it on the boot.
They've managed to shut down Thurley pretty well since quarter time. He had 11 possessions in the first term, 7 in the second and 6 in the third. Setchell's had 22. O'Brien's been good for the Roos with 20. He's broken the lines for them. And Stuart Whitelaw has been impressive as well, up to 17. Matthew Smith, 17, so less influential in that term.
Yes, he was, and I think most Devonport players really were there. They didn't impact through the middle of the ground at all. We didn't see the ball inside 50 at all for Devonport. They were very happy just to play the windy side of the ground and lock it up and try to restrict Clarence's scoring rather than score themselves. I'm sure that won't happen this quarter. Devonport are going to pull some moves here, and they're going to have a crack at this. I'm very hopeful for their chances to come back into the game.
We hate to disappoint here, Nick, but we can only show 1 goal in the third quarter highlights, and there it is. An accurate kick from Trent Whitelaw, that at the 5-minute mark. Possessions now, it's Clarence, 258. There is a fair gap there, isn't there? It's 183 to Devonport, 71 marks to 45, and the inside 50s have blown out again, so there was a big gap at quarter time. Devonport had reduced that gap at the half, but now it's 14 again. Hitouts 24 to 17. And let's take a look at the huddles down there. And Devonport, I'm sure Errol Bourne is really revving them up. What do you say to a team at three-quarter time when they trail by 25 points in a grand final?
If you've got a book of cliches, now's the time to get them out. There's now or never, boys.
He just wants one last big effort from his team. Kurt Hazelwood, look at him, he looks fairly relaxed in there. Straight on the coach. It'd mean a lot for a player like him to win a premiership, Damien.
Oh, it certainly would. I mean, he's had a glittering career. He's won awards both in Tasmania and interstate, but to captain a club to a premiership, especially one where they're not expected to win, would just cap it off, really.
This would be a monumental win if Devonport could get over the line. I mean, no one rated them a chance going into the game. They're close enough now to maybe pinch it in the last term. It'll be interesting to hear what Tim Hazel's got to say about those conditions. We'd been seeing that the wind was whipping across the ground, but definitely favouring the southern end. But that kick from Brennan Savage in the third quarter suggested that the wind may have dropped out a little bit. I'm not sure whether it had swung more straight or whether it had just disappeared altogether.
I still think this is the scoring end down to the southern end of the ground for Devonport this quarter. It'll come down to the first goal, won't it? And really, the first goal opens the game wide open again for Devonport to come back into it. If Clarence are able to kick the first couple, then you know it may well be something that blows out to a larger margin. Let's hope not. Let's hope not.
We are in store for a big final term. Let's get down to Tim Hazel. And Tim, what did you find out at three-quarter time? And would be keen to hear what the wind's doing as well.
Yeah, look, the conditions are pretty tricky. I'm here with Danny Noonan, Clarence assistant coach, and Danny, a lot of wasted opportunities that quarter.
Yeah. So we're really happy with our intent and our intensity, but missed opportunities for sure. We're going to have to work hard this quarter. Devonport put us under a lot of pressure, but we're in front. It's ours for the taking.
Cheers, Danny. All the best, Danny.
Thanks, mate.
Brett Gapen, what he spoke a lot about was he dominated the quarter, but there was a lot of wasted opportunities. He said, you've just got to close them down. He believes they are fitter, they are stronger than Devonport, and they're going to outrun them this quarter. He was really, really happy with their defence. Sharman, Blight, the boys just running. Josh Green in particular, he singled out and said, Greeny is breaking the lines, give him the ball, and he's going to do the job for us. The tricky conditions are playing a huge role in this game. It's blowing, it's raining, it's sunny, it's doing everything down here, boys.
Is it an advantage? I mean, could you correlate it in terms of goals, how significant the wind is favouring the river end?
Devonport will have a 4-goal advantage this quarter, and if they can shut down Clarence and kick those 4 goals, you never know what's going to happen.
It's awfully convenient of you, Tim. Thanks for building the excitement even further for us. I'm on the edge of my seat here, boys. You might not think a team that trailed by 25 points was right in the hunt, but the way Devonport's played today, they have held their own very, very well. And are they going to deliver something special in the final term?
There's something special. Straight away.
Breaks out of the middle for the Roos. He kicks to half forward out in front of Drury. Hess is with him. Drury wants to spot someone up. Thurley kept running. He runs inside 50. He kicks to the goal square. A wrestle on Savage. Well done, Clements again. He has been rock solid in defence for Devonport.
Philip Croton starting on Thurley in the middle of the ground now, so he's going to run with him for the whole rest of the quarter. Likewise, Josh Green's picked up a very tight tag from Clay Hardy now after being the leading possession winner on the ground.
Savage and Hess wrestle. Devonport needs to get it out of here. They can't afford a goal now. Standen had his kick smothered. Still working hard, tries to get it out of there. Ball here to be won. And the Magpies, with real intent, lock it up.
Tackling's so important, isn't it? You just don't want to give away a free kick. Silly in the back, high tackle.
No, and with the shrewd heads that there are around stoppages like this in the Clarence team, they can easily manufacture one as well.
They'll be dropping their knees. Thurley over the top to a dangerous spot. Green off the ground almost. McCrossan, that's Sean McCrossan to try and clear the zone. Important footy. Hardy.
Well done, Clay Hardy.
Well played through the middle of Bellerive. Reynolds the target. Can he clunk one? No. Sharman has just had his measure all afternoon. Runs away from him. Gets it to Westfield. Westfield up to the half-forward flank. It's wide, too wide. Pitch is just in line. Inside the line, sorry. Aaron French was prominent early, has faded a little bit, but with the job on McCrossan, would be reasonably happy.
I'd be pulling Ben Reynolds right back to the square right now. Let's have some space in this area. If he's unable to win the contest, let's get him out of the contest and make it space for McDonald and Simmons, who can run.
Colbeck's deep for the Magpies at the moment. But unfortunately for Devonport, the ball is a good 110 metres away from them. Umpire lays it down. Williams locked up. He's going nowhere. Savage and Riley. Riley consistently with more tackles in a game than possessions. That's exactly what the coach would want from him. French third man up. And over the line for another throw-in.
Savage comes up to these contests, of course, out of the forward line, which enables Drew Westfield to sit in behind the ball for Clarence.
Williams. Hardy. Hazelwood taken off the football by Riley. Hardy won it. Viney had his kick affected. And McCrossan close to the line. They're inching it forward, the Magpies. French and McCrossan. It's been a good duel. McCrossan with over 20 possessions, though.
Williams lays it down. Smith, again, just a scrappy kick forward. Whitelaw, best position. Simmons, though, works his way in front. Walker just took the ball out of play as they were looking to build something dangerous, the Magpies. Hazelwood was away. So important last week, Walker. Just his run and sense of adventure off half-back. And they'll need more of that.
Yeah, he was excellent last week. Just not as much space for him in this game today.
Smith is going nowhere. Setchell had him wrapped up.
Wonder if we'll just see the roles reversed here, boys, and Clarence will go into lockdown mode, or whether they'll try and take the game on in this last quarter.
Well, the scoreboard, they've got that advantage. They can do what they want. I would suggest that they'll still want to kick a couple more goals before they do anything like think that they've got this game won.
Sharman again did really well in the contest on Reynolds. Setchell wanted to get it out, he couldn't. Working in a tight spot. Oh, they've done well there, the Roos. 3 or 4 hand passes, released O'Brien, who then released the ball out of play on the full.
Well, Sharman's job on Reynolds has been first class, because having watched Ben Reynolds play last week, the way he was marking the football, I just thought even a guy like Sharman is going to battle to stop Ben Reynolds. Here is his chance again. And again, Sharman not only beats him this time, but he takes the mark as well. That is rubbing salt into the wounds.
It's the second time we've seen a one-hander from Greg Sharman today, and he's been absolutely outstanding in his role on Ben Reynolds. Clearly,
his kicking's questionable.
The kicking's, he just wants another chance to have a crack at a mark, I think.
Here it is. It's just been a bit static, I reckon. Reynolds, he's sort of leading in one direction. It's one lead. It's not a sharp lead. Very easy for the defender.
Yeah.
McCross into the pocket, and this time it's Swan who gives the crowd some catching practice.
Boys, it's funny talking about Ben Reynolds. I actually asked the physios, is he injured? Is he carrying an illness into the game? Because he is looking very flat, very lethargic. Not the Ben Reynolds we've seen over the past couple of months.
He did start the final series with a virus, but I think he'd been able to shake that, or I assume he had been able to shake that virus. He was certainly very damaging last week in the preliminary final, particularly in the first half. Mott frees it up. McDonald with pace gets it to Walker, who takes them on. Just managed to get the hand pass clear, but sharked by Whitelaw. To Castle, to Thurley, takes it with one hand, sends it up the line. Can someone take a mark for the Roos? Standen can't. Drury gathers at ground level. The roles were reversed there. He runs to 50. Good kick inside, and the mark taken by the Wiz. Trent Whitelaw, and he's lethal from this range.
Great play from Matthew Drury there. Hesse.
Sam Hess.
Sam, I had a mental blank. Sam.
Tim's his father.
Tim is the father, I know Tim. Sam, 2 great grabs in the second quarter on Matthew Drury, but over the course of the game has shaded, he's lowered his colours to Matthew Drury.
Trent Whitelaw steers it home, and the Roos could be headed for another premiership.
So both the goals so far for Clarence in the second half to Trent Whitelaw. And the Whitelaw brothers having a great day. Stewart's been terrific on a half-back flank. Just Mr. Reliable at the other end of the ground. Critical goal now for Clarence. This really, the next 5 minutes is going to determine the output of the game, the outcome of this game.
So we talk a lot about Stuart Whitelaw and how important he is, but Trent Whitelaw, with the only 2 goals of the second half, looming as a match winner for the Roos. First goal kicked for 29 minutes it was, and makes the task very, very difficult for the Magpies.
They've come over quite a long period, Damien, but Clarence has actually kicked the last 4 of the game, which is pretty important for them.
Very important. So really, apart from Clinton Vine, his little purple patch, Clarence have had the ascendancy. Thurley to lay it in board to French. This would almost seal it, you'd think. The shot on goal, and Drury on the goal line. It's been paid a mark. So Matthew Drury, it's a tough angle. He's in about 8 different ones by the look of it.
He is, isn't he? If you think your way through it, you can generally still kick these goals.
Runs around, over the shoulder.
Thought he had it. Not quite. Keeps the dream alive just for a little bit longer for Devonport. I noticed Ben Reynolds has now been brought to the interchange and Sam Rundle's gone to full forward, just trying to change things up in their forward line to get a score.
I think it was only momentary, Proe. Reynolds is now trotting back down into defence.
I was about to say, Ben Reynolds has just gone straight down into Clarence's forward line.
Well, they've got to try and do something now, and Ryan Williams is coming forward. But at the moment, unless they've got the ball in their hands, it's all irrelevant.
And a free kick to Thurley here for one high. What a classy player he's been for many years, Cameron Thurley. Most rate him the best player in the state. 29 possessions today.
He just kept accumulating, hasn't he, over the course of the game? That's a big output when you look at it now.
He kicked the opening goal of the game, Cameron Thurley. It was a long time ago. That's not a bad attempt. It sits up and trying to knock it through Reynolds. He follows up with a good tackle on Drury. Locks it in. It's at the wrong end of the ground for Devonport. A team that trails by 32 points. Reynolds in the ruck now. Green lurks. Stripped of it by Hardy. Good smother, Whitelaw. High tackle. He may get a third here.
Whitelaw again, he's been terrific, hasn't he? So just putting his head over the ball there, and the arm coming up too high from Ben Walker. A bit crude in the tackle. No excuse for that really at this stage when in this position on the ground either.
So Trent Whitelaw, one of their heroes last year, kicked the winning goal in the preliminary final. And now potentially to kick Clarence to back-to-back premierships, and he's done it. Three goals to Trent Whitelaw, one at the 5-minute mark of the third quarter, the only for the term, now one at the 6-minute mark of the last and the 9-minute mark, and that might be just about all she wrote.
I think it is all she wrote, unfortunately for Devonport. Ryan Williams, one of the Devonport players, had an opportunity to kill that ball at the contest well and truly before the free kick was given, but in the end that was how the ball ended up coming over to Trent Whitelaw, who scored his third goal. A terrific contribution from him.
So it's Smith over the top of it. Reynolds in the middle of the ground. Smith still battling away. And this won't bother the Clarence players one little bit. They're out by 38 points, and Devonport would have to do something amazing to get themselves back into it.
A goal, and quick.
Several of them, I reckon, Proe.
If they double their score now, they'll win by a point.
Still waiting on that 4-goal breeze to kick in. Oh, terrific hands by McDonald.
We haven't seen enough of his talents today, have we, unfortunately?
And the kick-in board, Hardy was on, but too much on it, straight into the arms of Castle. Cute little kick to Brettingham Moore, to Riley. Has Payne out wide. He wheels and goes. And
might just get down to Tim Hazel on the boundary line, who's got a quick interview for us.
Yeah, thanks, Alistair. I'm down here with Zane Murphy. Zane, a bit of a weird one for you today because you won the medal but disqualified through suspension.
Yeah, sort of. It's a funny sort of time, mixed emotions. I mean, I'm proud to have got the most votes, but on the other hand, I would have liked to have been up there and got the medal. But well done to Brett, I suppose. He was the best and the fairest player this year, but I missed out. So
Devonport there just kicked it behind. They definitely need to kick some quick goals in this game, Zane.
Yeah, I tipped Clarence earlier on, but I mean, Devonport are putting up a good fight, and I reckon first quarter they kicked a couple of quick goals. I reckon they'll need a couple of quick ones now if they're going to have any chance.
Well, congratulations on the year. It's a fantastic effort to win the most medals. Next year, don't get suspended.
Yeah, no, it's been last year and this year I've been suspended both years ineligible, so next year I hope I won't be suspended at all and I'll be eligible to win the medal.
Thanks, Zane. All the best.
Thanks, mate.
No doubting he had a great year, Zane Murphy. After making the switch from Burnie to North Launceston, Clarence just continuing on here. Drury, oh, they're lining up here. Kick inside the 50 from O'Neill and presenting Thurley.
Well, Devonport are running out of answers, aren't they? Can't get their hands on the footy at the moment. Clarence, I think they're starting to realise now that the game's theirs, and it's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful feeling to know that you're out there, you've got a premiership and you've still got 10 minutes of the game to go. And you want to share it with your mates, basically.
He's made a sizable contribution today, Cameron Thurley. This for his second goal, and it just won't come back for him. 1 goal, 1 for Cameron Thurley. And again, he's reached the 30 possession mark in a game of football.
So it's with Hardy, lays it off to McCrossan, dances around one. Clements back to Hardy. He's provided some good run at times. The kick, though, well, he didn't have anything to go to. Trying to attack through the middle of the ground and had 3 Clarence players in front of him. Savage took it, got it to Thurley, over the top to Baker, breaks the 50, lines the goals up. James Baker splits them. Tried to split the post.
You summed it up though, Damien. I thought Clay Hardy's been terrific this last quarter, and really one of the only Devonport players that's wanted to take the game on. But and clearly Devonport have got to go up the middle. That's where players must align themselves. But nobody there for the Devonport midfielders when they were moving forward.
So Devonport out of defence. Sean McCrossan. Goes out to the wing. Hess has got to float back. In the end, McDonald spoiled him. Whitelaw, quick hands to Swan, over the top. This is becoming a procession here, and again they find a free man in French. Good kick by Whitelaw.
Well, they're lining up, aren't they? And this is where your more shrewd midfielders start to eye off the medal and things like that, trying to get their hands on it, maybe get a late goal that could improve their chances. Aaron French has had a terrific game. Not quite sure if he's at that level. Who do you think for the medal, Damien? I like the game of Josh Green, but he's been very quiet this quarter with the heavy tag from Clay Hardy. Cameron Thurley now 30 possessions.
I think the next 10 minutes he's going to probably split it, I reckon, Thurley or Green.
French from 45 metres. He splits the middle. Don't worry about that. It's the Roos again in 2010.
Boys, Cameron Thurley, he's got 10 minutes to prove himself for this middle, and he's actually just come off. So he might have to have a message to Brett Gape and say, get me back out there so I can win the middle.
Maybe Budgie's saying, well, how about I'm the only one that wins a medal out of us two today, mate?
My tip's Josh Green, boys. I just think he's powerful, he's dynamic, and it's going to be sad for the competition. We're going to lose him to the AFL, hopefully, but fantastic for him and Clarence.
Yeah, and I think crucially the possessions were in the stage of the game when the game was there still to be won. But Devonport yet to score a goal in the second half, I think, and really they'd be unhappy with that result. If it remains that way for the rest of this game, then they'd be certainly unsatisfied with the way they've finished off the game here in the grand final.
Williams spills to O'Brien.
Got a bit of Michael Flatley about that. Well, he danced out of that.
It was very dexterous, wasn't it, as O'Neill just pokes it inside 50. Whitelaw, he's been important on the left foot, not his best effort. Gapin, lovely hand pass. Absolutely steamrolled there was Brenningham Moore. Viney just all over his back. There'll be another shot on goal for the Roos. You really have to say that the tactics of slowing the game down in the third term, they just haven't been able to find that extra gear they needed.
They couldn't get the gear back, could they? They couldn't. The second quarter was the highlight of the game and their best quarter, Devonport, and this last quarter certainly haven't been able to get their hands on the ball. But this is Clarence. Clarence, the team to beat. They've got a great game plan where they run and carry the ball. They don't lose possession without being forced to lose. As we get another goal to Brenningham Moore, it's a terrific result for him. Look at him, he's very excited. They're an example to all players and all clubs in the competition of how to go about winning premierships, aren't they? Stick to their guns. The game plan's excellent. Very fit, good even team. Disciplined most of the time. Very tight, great culture.
Well, they've played in every grand final today, Nick, right through. Under-18s, reserves and seniors. Their reserves won. Their under-18s went down. Their seniors will win another premiership 51 points the margin. Only 25 in it at three-quarter time. Hazelwood's gone 40, almost marked. Riley there with him again. He must be sick of the sight of him. Devonport playing for pride now. No one thought they'd even make it this far. But when you do make a grand final, you've got to seize the moment, and they haven't been able to do it today.
Things look good for them for next year, though. I don't know of many players in the Devonport side that are looking to retire, so it's been a great 2 years for Errol Bourne as coach, I think. 4th last year and into a grand final this year, so that's a decision that will be made soon, I suppose, about the future for coaching for Devonport, and the playing group look like they'll stay together.
Williams with a look-away hand pass. Smith with a left-foot kick that didn't have enough on it. Castle, and now the run of Setchell, has a bounce over defensive 50. Hess drifts back, laconically. Opens another window here for the Roos. Standen. Thurley wants to initiate the contact. Almost took the mark on Allen. Allen all over the top of him. Umpire says mine. Will have a bounce 35 metres from goal.
It's a terrific contest. I really like Trent Allen, the way he goes about it when he plays down there. He was pretty fortunate not to give away a free kick for in the back as he landed on the back of Furls there.
Very lucky, would have thought. But you're right, he's had a good game. Here's Thurley, tries to break a couple, can't. Spills to Bredingham Moore, bit of pace. Terrific effort from Allen again, he hasn't stopped trying. Bredingham Moore, that's a good tackle. It was Smith. And just have a ball up again. So it's a difficult time, isn't it, for Devonport?
Yeah, maybe Matthew Smith would be the only one. It may be Matthew Smith's last game of football. In the Clarence side, who knows about the futures of some of their players that are in the 31-year-old age group.
Matthew Gapin just getting the ball out there, he'd be one of those.
That's right, Cameron Blight, as we know, not getting any younger. Greg Sharman, 31 years of age as well.
Benny Setchell, who came out of retirement to play this year, you wouldn't think, well, he might have.
This is the thing
got the hunger
about back-to-back soon becomes a desire to try and make it 3 in a row.
Exactly, as Bayard is happy just to get the ball as far away from him and his opponents as possible.
And I hope that it's a good experience for Quaid today. He hasn't really had much of an impact on the game, but that's one positive that you can always take out of a game that you lose in a premiership, in a grand final, sorry. Young players at least getting exposed to the pressure and the build-up of playing in a game like this.
Certainly makes you appreciate it if and when he does get a premiership. Young player's got a lot of footy ahead of him, so fingers crossed for his behalf as Nick Payne at centre-half forward lays it off to Swan. Goes inside 50. It was a good kick. And Standen.
Well, he hasn't had the impact that maybe we thought he might at the start of the game. Devonport have clearly done their research on him. He's kicked 2 goals, and Sean McCrossan's been excellent at this stage of the game with the supply coming in. Very difficult for defenders for Devonport.
So he's averaged 3 goals a game this year. Trent Standen, recently named Rookie of the Year, his first year in Tasmanian State League football. Can he get his 3rd? It's working back. He's got it. Celebration time for the Roos.
It is celebration time. I know I've mentioned it already, but it's a terrific time to be out there after all the hard work coming together in November, doing pre-season. It's a mile off this little feeling now, but they're all of the moments that you put into to have the opportunity to spend, what are we at, the 21-minute mark, so maybe another 5 or 6 minutes together to enjoy the achievement that these guys have now just realised.
The margin has blown out to 57 points. Savage and Hess, who's having a run in the ruck now. Thurley just decides I might go back to the middle. Quick kick out of the centre by Hardy. Reynolds still can't take a mark. Sharman held without it. Umpire lets it go. Gathered there by Payne. Little kick, didn't go too far. O'Brien works hard. Mott tries to take them on. Oh, they're all over the top of him. They have not lost their endeavour, the Roos. Even though the game is won, they're giving nothing away to the opposition.
Boys, there is plenty going on off-field here. Cameron Blight and Clint Matthews down in Clarence's full forward line. They are just going at it. The 3rd umpire is out there ready to pull the book out. They are kneeing each other, pinching each other. Now they're on the lead. Look out for this contest, boys.
The eagle eyes of Tim Hazel.
So Cameron Blight obviously at full forward, very keen to finish with a goal. Clint Matthews is saying, well, if I can make any part of your day unhappy, I'll try to.
Rundle's got it. Squares it up. Crowden. Williams is deep. That's where the kick is going to go. He's got a metre or two on Swan, and he takes a comfortable chest mark. Has the opportunity to kick Devonport's first goal since the 8-minute mark of the second quarter. It's been a long, long wait. And the Magpies, who are waiting for a first premiership since 1988, will have to keep on waiting. He kicks it goal, and he puts it through. It's merely consolation for Devonport, but Ryan Williams has got his name on the scorer's sheet in the grand final. Brett Gapin's a happy man. He's won the Tassie medal, and he knows that he's going to hold the Premiership Cup up for the second time in as many years.
It's a good day for the Gapins. Matthew, of course, will be a medalist as well. After coaching North Hobart last year, he's made the change to come across and play with his brother. He'd be very satisfied with that decision at this point in time, I guess.
Would have thought so. Hess follows up his own work. It spills to Hardy. Inside 50, Reynolds flew late. O'Brien, tell you what, he might be working his way into contention as well, although spots up Green. Off to Setchell, inside 50. Vintage Clarence, Whitelaw.
Wow, there's some contenders in that little list, isn't there? Jackson O'Brien's move to a half-back flank this year has been terrific for the footy club and for his development, hasn't it? His willingness to carry the ball and break a line. Was a Tassie under-18 player and obviously a premiership player for Clarence last year, and played generally as a midfielder and a defensive one at that. I think it's been a great attacking improvement in his game now that he's been able to go to a half-back flank.
So Whitelaw, he's kicked 3 goals this afternoon. He keeps it, well, very low. Too low, in fact. And late in the game, it's McCrossan just to work the ball out of defence. Works himself into trouble, works his way out of it. Kick, though. Touched, was it? So play on as Whitelaw thought he'd claimed it. Savage buries Smith into the turf. Only a matter of minutes before the Clarence players, before that man in particular, will get to hold aloft the 2010 Premiership Cup. I know a little bit about winning premierships, this mob.
And no small part played by Fluff alongside him, Ricky Langford, who's the conditioning expert for Clarence and been a terrific contributor to their premierships over the last 2 years.
Certainly has. Their fitness has been a feature. Here's Swan, flying shot on goal. Certainly not. That wasn't a realistic attempt at the mark, was it, by Josh Green?
I think that's the attempt by a player who knows the score.
Yep.
And the time clock.
Wouldn't mind a hanger in the last quarter of a grand final. Why not? Here's Viney. Just gives it to Simmons, who's McCrossan actually in a tight spot. They certainly haven't stopped, have they? Poor bloke.
That was a little bit unkind from Josh Green. I haven't seen many things like that from him. I'm not quite sure what he was up to there.
Over the top, Crowden. Standen wanted the footy. Crowden paddles to Walker. Gets a quick kick out of there. Chopped off by Payne, though. Payne, look at them. They're free. Cameron Blight has kicked 2 goals for the season. He's kicked 3, and it may be the last of the grand final.
He's gone all the way over to the boundary, along the boundary line he goes. A couple of non-plus people over the fence. You wouldn't want to actually retract your hand if he comes along with his hand out, would you? He almost jumped the fence and strangled you. He's done a full lap, and he's really enjoying this moment.
Celebration time for Clarence.
He's still going.
It's further than he's run all game, just about. He's a very happy man when you don't kick too many goals. As I said, just his 3rd for the season.
He's tired now.
Why wouldn't you celebrate?
Where's Clint Matthews? He's going to go, what do you think about that one?
If it was Clint Matthews, I'd be getting away from him.
Yeah.
It wasn't my man. I wasn't on him, honest. Here's Matthew Smith going forward, and there it is. Fittingly, it's Greg Sharman with the football. Clarence have gone back-to-back. And there's the premiership coach, Brett Gapin, and his brother Matthew. Terrific victory, terrific season.
Well, what a great effort by Clarence. Well and truly deserved premiers again in 2010. They've been the benchmark for the whole year. Devonport players all alone and standing with hands on heads and heads on knees and the like, but the Clarence players jubilant. And so they should be for what has been another dominant performance by them in season 2010 in the second year of the State League.
They certainly have been the dominant team. They lost only once in season 2010. They were injury ravaged when they lost that to Launceston in round 15. A familiar show of elation from the men in red and white. They have made winning flags a habit. It's a 15th senior premiership for the Roos. Their 11th in 18 years. Stevie Wright, way back in 1993, changed the culture of this club and steered them on a path to success. And steering them further along that path now is Brett Gapin. The Devonport players, they did well just to get here. No one gave them a chance. Last week when they played Launceston in the preliminary final, they were gallant today, but in the end, they have been outclassed by a champion team for the second year in a row. Clarence, the TSL premiers. They won the last State League premiership back in 2000, and they have picked up where they left off with the first two of the reincarnation. What a team they are, the Roos. It's a question, Nick Probert, of just where can they continue to fit all these premiership cups? They must be falling off the shelves inside the club rooms.
I'm sure they'll find a place for the premiership cups and they'll never stop striving. It's in the culture and, you know, it's an often spoken about word, isn't it? But it's impossible to know how to get the right culture sometimes, and you can spend years and decades trying to. But when you've got a culture like the one that's at Clarence around hard work and success, it's actually very difficult to lose it as we hear the song.
Not that there were any critics to silence. There's Nick Payne, the captain, being hoisted in the air. A 57-point win to Clarence in the 2010 TSL Grand Final. 15-13, 103 the Roos. Devonport 6-10-46 could only muster one goal in the second half of the Grand Final. The Roos ran away with it in the last, kicking 6 goals, 3 to the Magpies, 1 goal, 1. They have a legion of fans that is ever growing, just like that tally of premierships. And the red and white is out in force tonight. They have reason to celebrate yet again. And fantastic to see so many people getting around the premiers. A good crowd here at Bellerive Oval this afternoon. AFL Tasmania hoping for around the 5,000 mark, Nick. I'm sure it exceeded that.
I think it did. I reckon we could be looking at 6,500 people. And when you consider that there's been 3 grand finals held in Hobart today, at North Hobart with the Old Scholars and also out at KG5 with the SFL Grand Final as well, I think that's a great sign of the health that football's in. I'm sure that those 2 grand finals would have also had healthy crowds, and the people in Tasmania have turned out to watch grand finals this weekend, which is wonderful.
Let's get down to ground level with Tim Hazel, who's got one of the Roos premiership heroes with him.
I've got 2. I've got a double interview, boys. I've got Greg Sharman, Cameron Thurley. I'll start with Sharmo, mate. You've taken the mark when the siren's gone. You have not taken that ball out of your hands.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Timmy. Look, they won't be getting this one back in a hurry. The umpires did ask for it, but yeah, no way, mate.
Over the final series, you've had Finch, and today you've obviously got Ben Reynolds. You have just been the fort down there in the back line for Clarence.
Yeah, thanks, Timmy. Look, it's good playing on good players. Yeah, I really enjoy that. You know, you get a few big names here and there, and to play on the better players, it sort of makes yourself lift. You know, you're in for a good day at the office when you're playing on the better players. So, yeah, thanks, mate.
Big. And Cameron, congratulations. Mate, you're just racking up possessions, kicking goals. You did it all today.
Yeah, it's a fantastic team effort. Like, obviously set ourselves 2 weeks ago to come here and play a good quarter performance. We dropped away a bit in the second quarter, but our second half was just fantastic. Credit to the lads.
all the young players, Jackson O'Brien, Josh Green, Angus Brittingham-Moore, they all just stepped up today, boys.
Yeah, it's been all year, really. Like they've picked themselves in the side, and their contribution today, you know, really stems from their season.
Brett Gapin won the medal, obviously premiership coach, again back-to-back. What a coach he is.
Yeah, look, we owe a lot of this to Brett. The way he's coached us for the last couple of years, he needs to take a lot of credit, and as he does, as being coach. But, you know, the premature retirement, you know, the way he handled that was just sensational. And not once did he whinge or moan or complain. He just got on with the job. And I think that says a lot about Brett as a coach and as a person. So, yeah, a big part of this goes to Brett. Yeah, that's for sure.
And Thurles tonight, just water and pasta?
Mate, we'll be painting the town red and white tonight.
Down the beach, aren't we? In 5
Well
minutes?
done, boys. Well done. Congratulations.
Thanks,
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
They have every right to be happy, both those men. They both had a huge influence on the contest this afternoon. Thurley with over 30 possessions, and Blight shut down the best centre-half forward in Tasmania.
Yeah, I think that there have been... Greg Sharman's had his critics over the journey,
Sorry, Sharman, I must correct myself there.
Greg Sharman's had his critics over the journey, but today he was simply outstanding against what a lot of people thought was going to be one of the keys for Devonport to win the game, Ben Reynolds, who I understand was markless for the game. So Greg was terrific. Cameron Thurley, I should say, a wonderful effort. He was given too much latitude early in the game with no tag and 11 possessions, but then once he was given a mitre, his class shone through. He's still unstoppable, and they're the players that win you premierships.
We'll be heading down to the presentation with Damien McIver shortly, where we'll see the Kazali medal presented to Brett Gapin as the premiership coach. He's had a big day, hasn't he, winning the Tassie medal earlier today? He nearly won the goal kicking the way he was going as well.
And Matthew as well. It's a wonderful day for the Gapins. They've had a terrific day.
So 57-point winners here, Clarence, and they led it by 25 points at three-quarter time. The first half of football, certainly contrasting with the second half. It was more free-flowing in the first half and great to watch, wasn't it?
Devonport unable to kick a goal in the second half. First, it was great watching Clinton Viney, I thought, with his 3 goals. It provided a feeling that Devonport might be able to come back into the game and wrestle it away from Clarence in the second half, which was unfortunately not the case. But you can't take anything away from Clarence. They are an outstanding team and over years have been an outstanding team. So they are still the benchmark in state league footy.
You talk about outstanding. What about Josh Green? What a bright future he's got ahead of him. Let's get down to Tim Hazel, who's got the man himself.
I do. I've got Josh Green. What another huge performance in a grand final game. Congratulations, Josh.
Yeah, thanks. Big honour to play with all these boys, and to get away with the win today was really good. So, 2-time premiership at 18, I'm pretty happy with that.
Your speed, your explosiveness, you've just come out here today. You really set yourself for this game, I could see in your warm-up.
Yeah, I really set myself through the week and set some goals. So, you know, I think I did my role for the team, and that's all that matters.
AFL draft, you excited?
It's an exciting time ahead. I'm not thinking about it at the moment. Got draft camp next week, so I just really training hard for that at the moment and go from there.
All the best, Josh. And Angus Brittingham-Moore, one of the other young players. Congratulations on today's performance, and you're a premiership player.
I am. Thank you very much, Tim.
That goal, how much did that mean to you?
No, it didn't mean too much. It was just more persistence with everything, and yeah, it came off in the end.
Must be a huge, huge personal feeling being a premiership player at such a young age.
Absolutely. It's such an honour to play with blokes out there, and something I'll cherish forever.
All the best, mate. Well done.
Cheers.
Thanks to Tim Hazel, who's down in the thick of it. He was in the thick of it last year as well, with Clarence beating Glenorchy in a much closer contest in a battle against a different set of Magpies this afternoon. They've managed to run away with a convincing 57-point win. It's been some sort of a season. They have now won 25 games of football in a row here at Bellerive Oval, quite rightly. If the southern team wins the right to host the grand final, the match should be here. The facilities are excellent, and what an advantage it is for Clarence.
It is an outstanding advantage, isn't it? It's not their fault that the Bellerive is the best stadium in the south. It's a great place to play football, and it's I think an outstanding surface. You know, with the weather that we've got. We see Cameron Blight there on screen. You know, the weather that we've had in the last month. It's perfect that the game's played here.
I think we might be able to head down to the presentations with Damien McIver pretty shortly. We're going to see the Clarence players presented with those medals yet again, and it'll be interesting to see who wins the Baldock medal. And worth noting too, Nick, I read an article in the Northwest newspaper today that Daryl Baldock, not well, has been in hospital, and our thoughts go out to Daryl Baldock's family, in particular his wife Marg. They're lovely people, and the best player on the ground will receive the Baldock medal. Here's Damien McIver for the presentations.
Unfortunately in footy, there's got to be a loser. Today it was Devonport. I know it's going to be tough, but congratulations on the year you've had. We look forward to seeing you again next year. I'd now like to invite the Chief Executive of AFL Tasmania, Scott Wade, to present the Daryl Baldock Medal for Best on Ground today. Before he does that, I'd ask you all to spare a thought for Daryl Baldock and his family. He's unwell in hospital at the moment, so our thoughts are with the Baldock family.
Thanks, Damien. Today's winner of the Baldock medal is from Clarence, Cameron Thurley.
No huge surprises there, Tim. He's such a Nick. He's such a big game player, isn't he? Cameron Thurley, another accolade.
Absolutely. Very happy there, obviously.
It's now my
Cameron.
pleasure to introduce Barry Robbins, the grandson of Roy Kazali, who's here to present the Kazali medal to the premiership winning coach.
Thanks very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Kazali family, I'd like to congratulate the winning coach, Brett Gapin.
It's been a big day for Brett Gapin. He won the Tassie medal here earlier today.
It's now time to, and sorry, congratulations, Brett, on the Tassie medal as well. Time, the moment all the Clarence players have been waiting for. Time to present the premiership medals. We've got the stars of tomorrow here, the NAB Auskick kids, to present the medals. And first of all, for Clarence, I'd like to introduce number 5, Brennan Savage.
Had a good year, didn't he, Nick? Playing in defence, playing in the ruck, playing up forward.
Yeah, he's been very versatile for Clarence, obviously. In his first season there after playing for Launceston, he'll be very, very proud of the effort that he's had over the season.
Number 6, Ben Setchell.
And who would have thought they'd get this bloke out of retirement? He was training for a marathon, so he was still very fit. Took so long to win his first premiership last year. And Ben Setchell gets another medallion. It's been a pretty smart move from him to return to football. I wonder if he's going to go again.
Number 7, Drew Westfield.
Terrific in the ruck all season. He's been asked to carry a huge load, Drew Westfield, hasn't he? And today, certainly I thought was better than Ryan Williams in the ruck and did his bit.
Number 8, Aaron French.
One of the Roos, I guess, unsung heroes. He's always asked to, I guess, play a sacrificial role in many respects. We saw him go forward and kick a goal as well today. He's one of those players that they've managed to get more out of.
Number 9, Matthew Gapin.
Well, what a good decision for Matthew Gapin. He's been lured across by his brother after coaching North Hobart last year. There he is with the family, and he'd be very proud of being able to put a medal around his neck alongside his brother.
Number 10, Trent Whitelaw.
Well, they say important players step up in big games, don't they? And Trent Whitelaw certainly did that. He kicked 3 goals in a row for Clarence when goals were really hard to come by. 3 match-winning goals that really turned the result.
Yep, absolutely.
Number 11, Stuart Whitelaw.
And Stuart Whitelaw, what can we say about him coming back to the club this year? An outstanding acquisition for the team, just when they need to regenerate a few new people. A wonderful player, an outstanding team player and a strong player on halfback.
Number 12, Cameron Thurley.
Baldock medalist. He's been just about everything. A VFL best and fairest, an AFL player. Great player to have running around in Tasmanian football, isn't he?
Absolutely. Absolutely, and we hope we've got
Number
several
13,
seasons to go.
Jesse O'Neill.
Jesse O'Neill's a happy man tonight, isn't he? He's one of those players that they've managed to get to the club, turn into a regular senior player and now a premiership player.
Add to that great depth, you know, hard and tough. Depth through midfield.
Number 15, Josh Green.
And what more can we say about this young guy? I was so excited by the way he played last year, and to think he's taken his game to another level again.
Still only 18 and a very anxious time ahead for him until November 18th.
He's a sure thing, Nick.
Hope so.
Number 16, Matthew Drury.
Their lead up forward never stops running. Great set of hands on him. Had a good day today, took plenty of marks.
Terrific today.
2 goals, 3 for Matthew Drury.
Terrific today, I thought.
And great to see the kids involved here as well.
Number 18, Trent Standard.
Well, quite rightly, the Matthew Richardson medalist as the Rookie of the Year. He has had an amazing season, Trent Standard. 3 goals today, 63 for the season. And a lovely little jig
Number
to finish
20,
off.
Greg Sharman.
We heard from Greg Sharman earlier. He came into the game with really a battle to do that was possibly going to decide the game, and he won it hands down.
Yeah, he was almost my tip for the medal.
Number 22, James Baker.
When you look at Clarence, you see all their stars across the midfield, and at times the opposition just can't go with everyone. And James Baker, he just gets under the opposition's guard. He is such a class player, a best and fairest winner here, and a dual premiership player now.
Number 24, Cameron Blight.
Blighty's a happy man again. Had to wait his turn to get a premiership like Cameron Thurley and Ben Setchell last year, and great to see him with the family getting up there. Another member of the family on the way as well, so congratulations to Cameron Blight and Maria.
Have we seen Cameron's last game? I haven't heard any talk about that, but he's no spring chicken either. I wonder what his thoughts are after being a coach as well for Smithton and also Kingborough. I think he'd like to coach again before he's done.
If there's a medal for celebrations, he wins it today, hands down.
Number 25, Tim Castle.
Good, honest performer for Clarence all season. A bloke who was battling to cement a spot in the team, and he's managed to do it. And look at how much it counts for now.
Deserves his place. He was very good again today, and he's been quite consistent over the past 5-6 weeks.
27, Jackson O'Brien.
This guy has gone from strength to strength. I think Clarence has improved so much this season, even from last season, and this guy in particular is a state player now and does his job every week. He gives them so much run and drive.
Yep, absolutely agree. He's a critical
Number
player
29, Adam Green.
His game today was first class, and you've seen plenty of games that this kid's played.
Watched Adam play for a lot of years now, and today was another one. He's just a consistent performer. He's very quiet. He works extraordinarily hard away from the footy ground, so it's a great
Number
reward
30,
for him.
Rowan Swan.
And I don't even think it's fair to say that this chap's underrated anymore, Nick, because we all rate him. He was a quiet achiever before, but now he is the most conspicuous defender almost of the three.
Very versatile with his athleticism.
Riley.
And this guy, we talked about Aaron French's willingness to sacrifice his own game. He's been doing it all year. He's had the big job on the key midfielder in the opposition team every week.
People in circular head would be very happy.
Played over 50 games for Smithton. Another youngster in this Clarence lineup who is a premiership player now. He wasn't part of the team last year, is this year. Saw a great goal a few weeks ago when Josh Green volleyed one to him.
Yes, that's right. That was great.
And finally, I'd like to invite the chairman of AFL Tasmania, Dominic Baker, on stage to say a few words and present the Premiership Cup.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. A few short words. Congratulations to Devonport on a great game today, but all honours lie with the Clarence Football Club. So if I get Captain China to come up and collect the trophy, congratulations.
Nick Payne's had his issues with injury this year, but when he's on the ground, you can never question his willingness to sacrifice 100%, give his all for the team. Another solid year from Nick Payne, playing at times when not fully fit. And what a special moment this will be for the Clarence Football Club as they confirm themselves again as the champion team in Tasmania. We wait to see them presented in a moment with another
say
trophy.
a few words. Firstly to Errol Bourne, the Devonport Football Club.
put up a really good fight today. You've had a wonderful season, obviously a very good developing club, and you know, for 3/4 today, I thought we had a really good fight on our hands. To our boys, just tremendous. I knew back in pre-season the way we came back that we're a really committed group, and I think we proved that with our brand of football we played this year. So, to you boys, well done. To AFL Tas, again putting on a good competition again this year, along with obviously the naming rights sponsor Rest Point. Our major sponsors, Parmick and the Shoreline. Without your support, obviously we couldn't get on the park. That's it, boys. Looking forward to having a drink with you blokes. Haven't had a drink for a while, so up you come.
It's what you play football for, and Clarence earns the spoils again. The 2010 TSL Premierships, they have gone back-to-back.
They're good scenes, aren't they? I think the champagne might be stinging.
It's going to be a big night for the Eastern Shore team again. It sounds like they've had a bit of a drinking ban imposed, Nick. I think the shackles are off tonight.
The shackles will be off. I don't think I want to be anywhere near the place. Well done, though. It's an outstanding effort, isn't it?
It's just a fantastic culture they've got at this club.
Brett Gapin confirmed as coach again, I think, for next year. The future looks good.
They know how to celebrate. They've had plenty of practice. Just their ability, Nick, this season to get more out of players, to take them to a new level. Players that were, I guess, fighting for a spot in the team last year, this year, cemented their spot and became key parts of this premiership success.
Yeah, it has been. And there's been a critical little turnover, hasn't there, when you look at Savage arriving. And you look at other players like Brettingham Moore coming in, you look at Whitelaw coming back into the side as well, and Setchell coming back into the side. That is sort of experience to add a little bit of a mix to the team. Absolutely critical for any team that's won a premiership to stay hungry. It needs a regeneration of those sort of personalities to come to the club to bring something new. So, been a great bit of timing for some of those guys, and success breeds success. People want to be around successful clubs.
It's hard to see it ending, really, isn't it? When you see that just what they've been able to get out of their young players. And then Cameron Thurley, he's still got plenty of years of football left in him as well.
That's right. Cameron, only 28 or 29, I think. He's still got, you know, the way that he plays, he could easily go and play a forward role at age 35 and still kick 50 goals, I'm sure, with the talent that he's got. So, doesn't look great. And this is the challenge that the competition has, I think, now, to make sure that people keep Clarence honest in the years ahead. There's going to be plenty of time over the summer months for clubs to look at what they've done and where they need to get to try and beat these guys.
Just very quickly, we haven't got too much time left, but Devonport now, obviously, with plenty to motivate them in the pre-season.
Well, hopefully they're hungry as hell. They've been given an opportunity to play in a grand final. Well, they've earned the opportunity. I shouldn't say that they've been given it at all. And really now they've got to try and make sure they go fourth, second. What's the next step? That's got to be first. So they need to really, really work over pre-season and not take anything for granted to make sure that they're around this time next year.
It's been absolutely fantastic to have your company on Grandstand TSL all season. It's been a great experience bringing you the football, as it always is. Our team has worked tirelessly throughout the year. Thanks to all our crew, all our cameramen, all the people who work behind the scenes, our producer, Glenn Dixon. It's been a fantastic season. Clarence, again, the premiers. Winners here by 57 points. The Eastern Shore will be rocking tonight.
The Beauty of Tuesday on ABC One. At 8:30, stunning relics from Tudor England.
This is the most powerful image of the Elizabethan era.
At 9:35, Beautiful Minds on QI.
George Washington had hippopotamus tusk teeth.
He must have had quite an overbite.
Get the beauty treatment Tuesday night from 8:30 on ABC One. The Shroud of Turin, the death shroud of Jesus Christ? Carbon dating says it can't be. Now, a controversial theory says it could be the work of one of the world's greatest artists, who was also an inventor, anatomist, and a pioneer of the science of optics.
Da Vinci had all of the tools to create an image like the shroud.
So how did he do it and why? The fascinating Da Vinci Shroud, 9:30 Thursday night on ABC One.
What makes your palms sweaty, your heart race, and your blood run cold? Speaking in public. Soon on ABC One, the Chasers' Andrew Hansen will march a bunch of ordinary Aussies onto the scariest podium of all.
I love watching them suffer, so I guess that makes me a complete bastard.
Some will triumph and some will choke.
We can see the terror in their watering eyes.
Strictly Speaking, coming soon.
We used to think the ocean was an inexhaustible resource. Now we know it's vulnerable. But I look out at the ocean and it's like a closed door. It's hard to know what's there unless you go down into it. I spent nearly 20 years working in the sea underwater filming, trying to show people. It reminds me of staring into rock pools as a kid. This little world full of anemones, urchins, crabs. That's how I first fell in love with the sea.
Welcome again to the Bargara Bowls Club near Bundaberg in Queensland. Great to have you with us for the final time in the 2010 Trans-Tasman. Well, the Aussies and Kiwis have given us 5 great matches so far. We're expecting more of the same today in the men's triples. Terry Antrim is enjoying his first tournament for Australia, playing lead for Mark Casey and Mark Jacobson. Andrew Todd is the current New Zealand singles champion. Shannon McElroy will follow, and the skip is Richard Gervin. Well, we're in for a quality match, I think, Shuey, and we're also likely to hear plenty of chat.
Absolutely, with Mark Jacobson, it will not be a quiet game. Terry Antrim making his debut for Australia in this series, and he couldn't wish for 2 better players. Commonwealth Games gold medalist Mark Casey and Mark Jacobson.
We can really feel the breeze on the rink today coming from behind the clubhouse. The players deal with this all right?
Absolutely. We've got 2 Commonwealth Games gold medalists. We've also got 2 world champions in Richard Gervin and Andrew Todd.
Well, the local community couldn't have asked for better weather for this wonderful Trans-Tasman event. We really have been blessed, and of course they're saying it's like this all the time up here. Triples action. John Knoll, local, to be our marker for this one. And Terry Antrim. Just nudging 40 and hoping to give the Jack a nudge with as many of his lead bowls as possible. I tell you what, he's going to do it straight up. What a start. And Andrew Todd. Shuey, a man you know well. You played with him and you were pretty hard on him, I understand.
Yes, I was mentor to Andrew Todd very early on at the Hills District Bowling Club in Sydney. He led for me for a couple of years, and he still has the whip marks on his back. I used to really go crook at Andrew when he used to put jack-high bowls up, and he said to me before this game, Steve, there'll be no jack-high bowls, Shuey, don't worry. Now at the Cabramatta Club, Terry Antrim, he's the bowls coordinator at Nelson Bay Bowling Club.
And finds himself playing against his boss. How does that work?
Richard Gervin, formerly from New Zealand, the operations manager at Nelson's Bay.
Come a long way in that shadow,
Well, the inference being there that the shadow actually makes this synthetic surface quicker. It's slower in the sun. It's counterintuitive to what happens with the turf greens. But the sun actually makes the synthetic surface sit up.
Coming down. Come on, Case.
Casey.
Okay.
And Shannon McElroy. He's the youngest man on the rink.
Originally from Gisborne, Shannon, now at Nelson he lives. I was just saying Nelson's Bay. He's at Nelson in New Zealand.
Casey lumbers after this one. Does he like it? He's just a little bit through with his first, but has come narrow and perhaps short.
Went far away. Weight's good.
So the players in the triples are going to be dealing with the lengthening shadows.
Shannon McElroy played singles for New Zealand in last year's Trans-Tasman series.
Ooh, it's close too. Camera angles filming us. Do you favour New Zealand there?
I favour the New Zealand bowl.
Now Mark Jacobson, Dougie, as he's almost universally known amongst his friends and foes.
Come on, Dougie.
Thank you.
Come on, buddy. What a shot, mate. Dougie. Yes.
You often hear him before you see him, and you certainly can't miss these bowls. They're a very unusual colour.
Yep. Scoring through there. Tony back here.
What is he in relation to Jack?
Oh. Probably front of bowl, nearly front of Jack.
That Jacobson bowl looks like someone's grabbed an old ink blotter and wrapped it around a bowl and stitched it up and given it to him. Size 5, that's a big bowl. That's a very handy second.
Yes, he set up his next shot, Steve. Richard Gervin just putting a bowl behind. It's protected behind, so now he can play more weight with his last bowl. It's going to be tough for Mark Jacobson to draw a second. He's pulled the switch. Dougie. He's playing backhand now.
Drop, Dougie.
Not too shabby at all either. This for a second. So Gervin's going to have to be on the money.
It was a brilliant result, considering the fact, Steve, that Mark Jacobson played his forehand with his first. Such experience. Backhand, firm. Will swing narrow this bowl at that weight. Might be 3 down now.
Certainly shifted the shot bowl, but there's 2. And they'll have a look.
Three, mate.
Yep, 3 conceded. What a start for Antrim, Casey and Jacobson. 3-0 Australia after 1 end of 9, so 2 9-end sets and tie break sitting there should we need it. Andrew Todd. getting a little piece of the jack. So the story going back a few years with Andrew Todd, Shuey, is that he might have, had things played out differently, played for Australia.
Absolutely. I worked hard to get him into the New South Wales side. I invited the chairman of state selectors, Ron Dennis at the time, to watch Andrew Todd play. And I said to Andrew, look, here's your big opportunity to play for New South Wales. And he had an average game and wasn't selected subsequently for New South Wales. And then he was born in New Zealand and was invited by the New Zealand selectors to try out and made their squad. And he won a world title, leading for Gary Lawson in the forwards for New Zealand. Plays out of the Cabramatta Club. And this year he won the New Zealand Singles Championship as well, and that's a great win for Andrew.
Not a bad effort from Antrim. McElroy played some elite level bowls at Junior World Cup 2008, 2009. Bronze and silver medals there in singles.
And one thing in common, Mark Casey and Mark Jacobson, they both follow very keen supporters of the Western Bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Casey, originally from Victoria, played at Moonee Ponds when he first picked up a bowl. Mark Casey, I think he was about 7 or 8 years of age, Steve, when he first picked up a bowl, Mark Casey.
You weren't far off playing for Footscray in the old days, were you, Shu?
Yes, a couple of broken jaws have slowed my progress down in that sport a bit.
And we'll do that, won't we? Well, their loss was bowls gain.
Guys.
The secret of a good synthetic green is really in the base. If you don't get the base level, you'll never have a level playing surface. Doesn't matter what you do with the underlay and the carpet. And this is very good surface at Bagara.
Good.
Jacobson was right on it in the first end.
Loves his backhand too. He's a backhand player, Mark Jacobson. He wouldn't tell you that, Steve, but he really does love playing his backhand.
Come on. Well, that helps. Knock it down there. Just arriving underneath mine, land either green.
I think that's a good call from Shannon McElroy. I don't think Richard Girvan likes the shot.
Only need to sit Toddy down, don't I, or work off Toddy, or...
Yep, one ball inside that, you go close to scoring.
So Richard Girvan wants to play the wide line, the safe line. Shannon McElroy wants to skip to play the tight line. Generally, you'd play the conservative line if you're holding. When you're down, I think it's easier to play the McElroy shot underneath. Well, he's coming underneath. Accidentally.
Could get the job done here unless he finds the hole. No, that stops in time. Great bowl.
Oh, it's unlucky that Richard Girvan said that he'd play a different shot. Otherwise, we thought he would have deliberately played that, Steve.
No, he'll tell us afterwards he changed his mind on the mat.
Full bowl.
So the weight, ideal. Looks narrow.
And a little light on. So there's a response from New Zealand. Just the one. Australia still leads 3-1 after 2.
It's deceptive, the colours. They look bigger, the green.
Just closer to the camera, Shui.
Yes. You might be right. One reason a lot of top players don't like playing with the yellow bowls, they look like grapefruit, twice the size. It's hard to judge the exact distance. Well, Gervin's going to lose his bowl in the ditch as well.
Big, am I?